flag.
It's really tight community down there too.
I'd like to welcome everyone to today's meeting, and I will call this meeting to order at 4:03.
Yeah.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
To 1.2, adopt the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt today's agenda?
I move to adopt the agenda as posted.
And seconded?
Good.
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Jerry?
I have a
Well, I
question.
don't have to do a roll call, do I? Yeah, I
Yes,
do,
you.
yeah. Jerry?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Brianna?
I
I too agree. Motion carries.
have
All
a
right.
question.
Moving on after that senior moment.
Looks like that Brianna has her hand up.
May I interrupt really quick? Kirk, could you let us know where the light switches are? It's really bright in here.
We can't see the screen very well.
Yeah, it's really hard to see you guys, but I can't figure out where the right light switch is. I don't see the one over there, but didn't know if anyone could.
Is Donnie in
I
there?
see.
He's in a meeting that just started at 4, so we didn't want to
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
go with it for a little bit if needed.
This is hard to see you guys. It's the only light switch I see, and it's.
It's all right. Let's just move on.
Are we good?
Yeah, we'll just deal with it.
Okay. Interview appointment, but before moving forward, I'd like to welcome Brian and Lisa to our meeting and give just a brief overview. On behalf of the Board of Northern United Charter Schools, thank you for your interest in serving on the Board of Directors. I'd like to give a brief overview of who we are. This is our 6th year as as Northern United Charter Schools. As Jerry describes us, we are a combination of both a traditional school board and a nonprofit board of directors. Under our charter, we represent Humboldt and Siskiyou counties with 8 sites and 1 business office. Guided by our bylaws and in a perfect world, Humboldt County is represented by 3 members and Siskiyou by 2. Each member has a 3-year term. Serving on our board is completely voluntary. We are not paid or compensated for our time. Our meeting schedule is based on a calendar year beginning in January and ending in December. We teleconference our meetings from 7 different locations. Our meetings are typically held on Wednesday, the 2nd Wednesday actually, of each month. However, sometimes there is a need to adjust that. June has 2 meetings at the end of the month, and we don't meet at all in July. As need arises, we often meet more than just once a month. For example, we met 4 times in March. I think that was a record. 4 times in March. The duration of each meeting varies from 7 minutes to over 3 hours. Pre-COVID, we would meet as a whole group twice a year, once in Humboldt and once in Siskiyou. Finally, after a 3-year hiatus, last month, we Humboldt folks traveled to Siskiyou. Hopefully in October, our Siskiyou partners will travel our way. In addition to 5 board members, we also have 3 officers. and I'd like to introduce everyone now. From Siskiyou, we have Melissa Johnson, board member. We have Brianna Osterell, who is the vice chair or vice president. From Humboldt, we have board member Jerry Cox, and his other hat was is past board chair. And I'm Rosemary Kunkler, current board chair. Our officers are Sherry Lovett, director. In the back, we have Linda Speck, who's our recording secretary, and Kelly Withers, our treasurer. Moving forward to the interview, each board member will ask questions. Feel free to ask for clarification or to repeat. After the interview is completed, we, the board, will have a discussion amongst ourselves and a decision will be made. The oath of office or swearing in will be immediately following. At that point, you will take a seat at the table and join us for the remainder of tonight's meetings. We have a new onboarding procedure that Jerry will present at our next meeting, which is May the 8th. Do you have any questions before beginning?
The only question or thing I have is Jerry, that if I get chosen, can I quickly have to run down the street and make a voting thing for the new slot? Because that's one of my comments. And it only takes less than a couple minutes. That's the only thing that I'm acting to. Because I did let Jerry know in advance.
Okay, and we understand that things are on calendars.
Over at 6.
Aha,
But I did wasn't sure what kind of meeting was over, and so, but just so he said this letting that.
perfect. And one more second here. I have papers and papers and papers for the board as we move along. I will start it, then Jerry will ask the second question, Melissa the third, and Brianna the fourth, and we will continue with that rotation until we're done.
I'm sorry to bother, to interrupt. Where do we find the questions? I
I
don't.
have them right here.
You have
Yeah,
them?
they're right here.
Yeah, they were emailed to you,
Yeah.
maybe it was,
Right here.
yeah, it was a
Oh, good.
while ago.
I think I missed it, but
Yeah, it's like weird and.
can you forward it to me?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Do I have to make mentions on two? Or do we just go to?
It's 2.2. Yeah, it's not, that's not it. So you would just say that, yeah.
Thank you.
Did you find them?
Yeah, she's forwarding them to me right now.
Okay, well, we'll get started on our side. So we're gonna move on to 2.1, which is the actual interview. And I will start. Please tell us about yourself and what makes you the best candidate to serve on Northern United Charter Schools Board of Directors, and why we should select you to fill and serve our current vacancy.
Okay, well, a little bit about me. My name is Brian Pate, for those who don't know. I've lived in Humboldt County since 1992. I'm married with 4 children. All my children went to public school, but I am, just to let people know that I am a big proponent of charter schools. I really feel like that charter schools have a place in the community. And the reason for that, I also believe that helped me understand was because my wife, from personal experience, used to work in a charter school. She still does. Before she was married, she was in a private school, and she goes to a charter school. I feel like I'm a little bit more about me is that I also feel like I'm a really good candidate because I'm actually on the board for Humboldt Autism Alliance that has a unique perspective on our community or with working with the autism community. And I also feel that also I do some community work for the Eureka Moose Lodge, if you doing their social media as well as outreach. And also I take my personal time of what they call South Eureka Neighborhood Alliance. For those who don't know that, that was started in 2019 by a group of people, and I was one of those group of people that just basically volunteered our time to really get to know our neighbors. And I really feel like that we did a lot, and that wasn't just neighbors, but we involved Eureka City Schools. So we kind of brought the school community involved in that. And I feel like my experience is valuable because I was on the board of directors for, North Coast Children's Services for a little over a year. And I was also involved being a Head Start parent at one point. Let's see, we have, I think it's pretty much it on that part of why I feel like it is pretty valuable to the community. But my one thing I want to emphasize, that I do have special needs children. So I do bring that unique perspective, because everybody is so different and so unique that I have different ideas and new ideas that I like to see. But that's pretty much it.
Thank you.
Could we request, could you maybe scoot a little closer to the microphone? We're turned up all the way here, but we're having difficulties deciphering. We can hear you, but yes, that's better. Yeah, we could hear you, but it was muffled. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, question number 2. Our bylaws reference when filling a vacancy, we are to look for candidates who have experience in one or more of the following areas. And I believe that was in the application: education, government, law, business, finance, accounting, fundraising, facilities, or public relations. Tell us, what experience do you have in any one of these areas?
Well, I know that I have a lot more experience with the public relations. And that's one of my specialties that I do quite a bit, because I do, not just social media, but I, actively fundraise. That's one of my specialties. So those are my 2 strengths. As you notice, the other ones are not as high, but I do have a better understanding of educational because my wife is a teacher. And I'm always actively seeking, of certain things in education, knowledge. And that's something that I feel like when you're on a board, always ask questions and always try to get that knowledge from somebody. And that whether it be somebody, a teacher or research, I think that's important. And so some of my strengths may not be totally in education, but if something, if I don't know something, then I will research it because that's something that I like to do. As far as fundraising and things like that, that's one of my strengths. I feel like that's a really high priority thing, because it costs money to run a school in the sense of the business. And so that's something that I'm hands-on. I would be a board member of anywhere, especially with being a humble autism alliance. I'm hands-on. We're actively fundraising this month, actually, because it's autism acceptance month. And so that's something I'm proud to do for a school, for anybody that I'm part of, is to really get my hands dirty like that. I think it's important. But anything that is a low score, I'm always willing to learn and to seek out those avenues, because I feel like you're always going to learn. You're always going to be, and I've always learned from a young way of life is that always be teachable, and accept feedback. And I think that's very important. And I love feedback, and whether it's good or bad, and that's pretty much it.
Thank you.
Are you familiar with parliamentary procedures such as Robert's Rule of Order? What is your familiarity with the Brown Act? What does chain of command mean to you in terms of school governance?
I'm somewhat familiar with the Robert Rule of Order, but it's been a while because I was on a board. And I do know there's orders to stuff, and I do know a chain of command is really high, because I really feel like, for example, like for school, if you're gonna complain, I don't think you should go straight to the board. I'll give you an example. You should talk with that person first, like the teacher, and if you can't resolve with the teacher, obviously you would go to the director, and if you can't resolve it, then you would obviously go to your board. You wouldn't just go, oh, I know this board member, I'm gonna talk him to the side. You wouldn't do that, because I don't think that's professional or right. You should go to that person if all possible. So, but as far as the Robert's Rule of Order, I know a little bit, but not a whole lot, because it's been a long time since I've been on a board that actually follows that. But I'm always willing to learn and understand the procedure.
I didn't look over here. I can't find the board packet. What do you see as the basic purpose of a public charter school? And what do you see as the role of the board of directors in fulfilling that purpose?
Okay, can you repeat that? Sorry, I can't hear it.
First, the first question was, what do you see as the basic purpose of a public charter school?
The basic purpose of a charter school. Well, I think first and foremost, education wise, but I feel like there's so much more to a charter school. That would be, it helps with groups, people who need that extra help, I should say, of smaller groups. I feel like the charter schools can offer more sometimes than a public school can, because it's smaller. And that's how I feel personally, because I feel like, and then that, and charter schools are not necessarily for everybody, but I feel like for those who like the autistic community, or number one, they can thrive in a charter school. And it's really all about community to really, to be the purpose of it. And what was the second part? Can you repeat that again, please?
Second part is, what do you see as the role of the board of directors in fulfilling that purpose?
Well, I see the role of really being there. And when I say there, I mean like attentive to emails, being at functions, if at all possible. I say I'm a type of person that if I know that any one of you are having a fundraiser, I'm gonna be there, because that's I feel like I'm my school spirit. I feel like it comes down to community. It comes down to being seen. It comes down to seeking grants, but getting yourself noticed, and just talking with different people. It's not, I'm a person that's not gonna come sit on your board and go, well, I'm just here just for the meeting. I'm here, parents are gonna know who I am. They're gonna know, people in the community are gonna know who I am and what I'm actively doing. See, to me, the purpose of the board is to do those things. Is to work with the director, to work with the teachers, and to have growth and change as well.
Thank you.
Here's a scenario. You're at a store and a parent approaches you about an issue involving that parent's student and or school. How would you respond?
In a professional way, I would say the best thing to do is to go talk to that teacher, or to go talk to the appropriate under the chain of command, and to give them our guidelines of what our rules are, and procedure. I wouldn't discuss it in the public thing. I think it's inappropriate. And especially, since my own wife's a teacher, I wouldn't want a parent to start talking on a board just to a board member. If they're uncomfortable, then they can seek those avenues until they get to where they need to be, until it comes to the top.
Next question. As a director, what do you see as your primary purpose or role? How would you fulfill that role? both as an individual and as a member of the governing board.
When I see my primary purpose.
Yeah, so as a director, what's your primary purpose or role? And then how would you fulfill that role both as an individual and as a member of the board?
I would say my primary purpose is all about growth. And when I say growth, I'm all about fundraising. I'm all about getting my hands dirty. I really feel like it's important for growth. Growth is important. No one charter school should stay, or any school should stay the same. There has to be consistent change, and that's just for any school. And I feel like that I would like to see growth anywhere I go. Doesn't matter if it's this board or another board. I think that's important. And how I would see that, just taking action and see what I can do. And if there's some things that we need to be done, that means just being available more. And just doing what needs to be done. I mean, it's just something that I've learned over the years and something I'm already actively doing actually in several different organizations. It comes naturally. So I think that's what I would be doing. It's more.
Thank you.
What do you appreciate about Northern United Charter Schools?
Well, I appreciate that they actually had some growth. I heard you guys got an FFA. So that wasn't before, so I appreciate and that you have the same staff pretty much, and that there's been changes. I feel like just being a charter school and really making some good positive changes. And just the way they can, you conduct yourself and people know who you are. And just the outpouring, just the teachers, so I appreciate that, and I see that. I saw that you guys have moved in that direction. Good for them, because you don't see charter schools doing that. That is a very positive thing to see. And that's when I would say, hey, that's pretty good.
What would you like to accomplish as a board member?
Oh. If I have, I'm always about change. I'm always about making things bigger, making more. I'm all about fundraising. If I was accomplished, if I had a goal or if I had approval, I would love to see a nice fundraiser to where if we could make a bigger facility, something that just would promote growth, anything that promotes growth. And if it wasn't in that direction, just something that is all about growth. And if that's even if it's taking small steps, and I think that's something that I'd like to see, is growth. And that could be baby steps. It doesn't have to happen overnight, but that's something that I would, something I would see, I would do. Like I said, I'm all about fundraising. I'm all about doing it. It might just making money, making just Winship when I was on their past president, when I was the president. I personally went out and got $2,000 just for my, just doing it on my own because nobody else was doing it. And you know how if you've ever been on PTSA, a lot of parents don't get involved. I would like to see a lot of people involved and really trying to get things and really making it more fun, in that aspect. And just making myself active and just known. That's pretty much it.
There was a second part to the question. And then the second part to the question was, oh, we lost it. Sorry. The internet keeps going in and out.
Oh.
My apologies. I lost the second part of the question. Just one moment. Yeah, I'm not sure.
We
why.
can read it if you'd like, Brianna.
Yeah, because I just dropped the signal completely and can't get it open again.
I'll ask your part too.
Thank you.
What is your highest priority and why?
My highest priority for being on the board? Oh, wow, that's a really interesting question there. You know what, I'll give you, I have a unique answer. It's really about learning and getting feedback. Because I feel like, you know, whatever works, you kind of want to go with the flow first. And just kind of, you know, get the sense of like where the board's going and then have a discussion later on where you want to be. I think that would be my priority, is to get myself familiarized and then say, okay, where do we see us in 5 years? Where would we like to do? What would we like to do? How are we going to get there? What can I do to help us get there? That's my priority.
If selected, what will you do to become an effective board member?
Well, definitely, what would I do? I would have, you know, obviously get my feet wet, get to know people. And I would stay active, I would fundraise, I would make sure that people knew who I was. And make sure the community, in a sense, you want the community and to continue with enrollment. And I think it's so important. I think how you conduct yourself in public and what you do is so important. And I think those are the things that I would be doing, is really trying to find out where we're gonna go and what we're gonna do. And to also do things that maybe that we haven't tried before, and try new things as well. That's something that I'm always a proponent of new things, you know, because sometimes I feel like staying in the old is good for certain reasons, but I also feel like sometimes new things can open a whole lot of new doors to so many things. And I'm a mixture of both. And so I would see myself doing those things, but over time, of course.
Describe how an effective school board or board of directors ensures that there are opportunities for parents and community members to express their views on any given issue that the board is considering.
How we give them opportunities. I think you would obviously, you have a board and you would invite them to the board meeting. I mean, that's a given right there. You can, I think there could be other opportunities like newsletter, or, you know, email, or even like open house, or, you know, those kind of things. I think you have plenty of opportunities, and, you know, and have an open door policy. I think that's very important, you know, to have that. It's always, if there's any kind of issues.
Thank you.
Identify an important issue that you have felt strongly about and describe how you would balance community concerns, student needs, state and federal law, staff consideration, and your own personal values and beliefs to determine how to vote on that issue.
Wow, that's a long question. I'm gonna have to ask you to repeat the first part. Can you repeat the first part for me, please?
Yep. I'll just repeat the whole thing.
Okay.
Identify an important issue that you have felt strongly about and describe how you would balance community concerns, student needs, state and federal law, staff considerations, and your own personal values and beliefs to determine how to vote on that issue.
Wow, that's a long question. You're gonna, I'm gonna have to ask you to repeat the first part. Can you repeat the first part for me, please?
Yep. I'll just repeat the whole thing. Identify an important issue that you have felt strongly about and describe how you would balance community concerns, student needs, state and federal law, staff considerations, and your own personal values and beliefs to determine how to vote on that issue.
An issue that I would think is very is with there's a couple issues I see is like if you have the autism community that's important, and also issues that I feel that if somebody wanted to maybe start this way. If there, so if you have, so that's, so another thing is if, so like you have some issues with, I feel like they're important. If like, a lot of people like murals, and that's important to our community. And how we would deal with it, or how I think is important. People, I think are important to express ourselves in so many ways. I think people like to paint art, and art is subjective. And I think those are important issues, and that have to be discussed. You know, Eureka City Schools, you know, had a mural where that was discussed in their school board. And I think I would, you know, balance it out where you would ultimately do the right thing. You would listen to people, what they would say, of course. But you would also take it valuable for what community thinks. It's really not about you. And you know, about me, I should say, if I was a board member, it's really about the other person. And so if there was pressure issues, you know, issue that people that don't usually talk about is Black Lives Matter. And that's such an important thing in our community that a lot of people don't understand, or they're against it. And I think that's a pressing issue that no matter where you're at in life, whether you're against it or for it, that you still gotta be have an open mind of really what that person is really trying to convey to you, and what is best for the community. And you really have to take in consideration of people when it comes to those matters, and anybody that's an alternative lifestyle than you, that is so different than you, whether it be religious or non-religious, you really gotta be, when you talk about federal, you really gotta follow the law. That's very important, and you can't discriminate, and you really got to really follow what you think is best for the community and follow the law. There's no way around it. It's not really about you, it's really about doing what the right thing is. If that makes any sense. I hope I answered that correctly.
It's a hard one.
It is. That's why I try to give a couple of them.
Thank you so much for everything you said, and now it's time to turn it around. And do you have any questions for us?
No, I don't have any questions at this point.
You sure? Then we'll move on.
Yeah.
This is your time.
Not yet.
Okay, thank you. I know that was a lot.
Not sure.
And moving on to 2.2, which is consideration of appointment of new board member. And so this is where we discuss you. And we're not asking you to leave. Everything is in the open.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I don't mind.
Okay. Okay. Where do we want to go with this?
We were wondering, don't we also have another candidate trying to interview, or is that not happening today, or?
He didn't show up.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, they're not here.
okay, thank you.
So what we have to decide if Brian is a good fit for us or he's not. You know, that's plain and simple, so to speak. And so, we'll open the floor for comments. I can start, I can go last, whatever you guys think.
Maybe Rosemary, you could open it up and maybe we'll come back, circle back around to you.
I think that overall, what I'm hearing is that Brian would be a good advocate or cheerleader for our schools. I appreciated when you said that you would be visible at functions and things like that, because that's one of the things that, for me personally, is important. And I try to go to as many functions, and like you were saying, people would know who you are and that type of thing, and that's important to me, so that not our school community and our community at large, so to speak, can relate and know who we are. I could be, but you can come back to me. Go ahead.
Well, let's hear from either Brianna or Melissa.
So I wanted to say that I appreciate that, Brian, you have a good understanding of professionalism. I appreciate that you're eager to publicly represent us and do fundraising. I can hear that you have a growth mindset and you are an outside of the box thinker. I have, if I were to have a concern, it would be upon reading the application. It seems that you have currently a lot of other community involvement and volunteer things going on, as well as caring for, you're a caretaker and all of this as well. I'm just wondering if you'd maybe have the time or possibly be spread thin with all the things that you have going. So that would
Would
be
you like
one.
me to answer that?
What
Would
was
you like
that?
me to answer that?
I'm not sure. I don't know what our protocol is. I'm just kind of stating my,
But
you
they're
know,
saying,
things
yeah.
that saying
At this point.
the ideas. So yeah, I don't know.
Melissa, what was that a comment, or would you like him to address that?
Am I able to have him address that? Is that something we can do right now?
We can do, yes.
Okay, I just don't want to break rules. So, yeah,
I can
I would love
address
to
that. No.
hear.
Before I even signed up for this, I made sure that no meetings or anything I'm involved with would go inside with this, because you guys meet on a certain day. I do other things on a certain night. And so that actually would kind of mesh with it, and actually would be better as far as caregiving. That actually is not, that would not interfere. I've had discussions with my wife, who's actually a teacher. So this would actually kind of go with what I'm doing currently, so there would not, it would be a non-issue. And there would be plenty of room for me to represent you.
Thank you.
I made sure before I even applied. To make sure.
Much appreciated.
I think 100% you gotta be.
Okay, yeah, so those are all my comments.
Jerry, would you like to go ahead? We can bounce back and forth. See you there. Where'd he go? There he is. He's a little tiny up in the corner.
No, you can go ahead.
Okay. One of my questions slash concerns is, how do you've mentioned the things that you can do for the school and the skills that you have to bring to the school. How do you understand your position as a stakeholder and representing the stakeholders in our school on the board? I don't know if I don't think that I made that clear enough. That's why I was to have Jerry go first. I was trying to still get my thoughts together. So the role of a board member is to represent the stakeholders, including parents, the students, and the community as larger community, which you are a part of. And I guess I'm trying to get a better, clearer view as to how you see your role representing the stakeholders in the school. Since you haven't had any connection with the school previously, what is it that also brings you to want to be involved on this level with the school? And maybe not you're like the school that your kids go to.
Right, well, previously, just so people know, my wife used to work here, some years ago. So there is a small little bit connection. And then I know a few people that work here. And so I've always been a proponent of charters. And I feel that, being on the board, obviously there is protocol. And, I wouldn't just be doing things on my own. It would be a discussion with the board and of how we can meet those needs of the community, the teachers, the parents. And then if we were to take action of what we would do as a board collectively, and whether if it needs, one board member needs to do this or discussion, it's just like any board pretty much, that you wouldn't do it on your own, you wouldn't speak on your own, you would do it as a collective board, and there would be, whether it be an assigned person doing things or the group getting grants or doing a fundraiser together or having a committee, those are the things that I would be doing as a board collectively, not on my own per se.
Thank you. And the other question I had for you, because it does sound like you have a lot on your plate with all the different committees and everything that you're sitting on. When you mentioned that you wanted to be involved with being showing FaceTime in the schools and everything else, one thing that I would like to mention that I think would be nice to see in Humboldt, which is similar to what we have here in Wairika, that there's no representation for Southern Humboldt. Everybody's kind of squished up in Wairika, and I've been trying to brainstorm some ways that we could spread that out a little bit. And I was wondering if travel occasionally would be something that we can reach out to the other schools. How do you feel about how much you can how flexible you can be?
Flexible I would be, or sorry, what was the last part?
How flexible can you be with when you mentioned about being involved and being, the FaceTime in the schools? How flexible are you with that? Or would it need to be something that's
pretty flexible? I mean,
planned?
if we're not reaching out to people in certain areas that need to be reached out, I think it's important to address those things and not just leave it. I think it's very important that it gets brought up and discussed and to work on those things. And like I said, everything always has to have growth, has to have progress. That's one thing is important, it's progress. Like where you want to be, what do you want to do? Like what you brought up about Southern Humboldt. Those are things that have to be discussed. I mean, if it's important, then obviously that's really, it needs to be discussed. Whether, it be that or anything else. It's important. So yes, I am flexible.
Thank you.
Okay,
All right.
so it's a rare occasion that somebody would come to us that kind of has an understanding of how everything works. You know, how schools work, how the system works. Usually it's somebody on the outside looking in. And so with rare exception, we'll have people come to us who are extremely familiar with Robert's Rules of Order, or a clear understanding of what chain of command is, or what to do when confronted by a parent or a community member about what the hell's going on in school, and what are you going to do about it, how you're going to react. But having said all that, you've expressed the desire and acknowledged that there are things you're going to have to learn. And I think if each one of us stops and thinks about our journey to being a board member, how much did each of us know about Robert's Rules of Order, chain of command, the workings of school boards, the sort of the ins and outs of schools. Understand? I have to say that rhetorically.
This is your time. You have the floor.
And so, I appreciate the enthusiasm about fundraising, just like many other things. It's obvious you're enthusiastic about representing the school in the community and fundraising and all of that. I no doubt believe you will realize and come to know you have to work within the system. There's certain limitations, and although there's lots of opportunities to get involved in and be an advocate. That you understand that over time you would grow in your knowledge of how this particular school functions, who the players are, who some of the stakeholders are, and it would be quite some time until you have the opportunity to interact with SISCU members or some of the other administrators from SISCU. But having said all that, I see Brian as one who's enthusiastic to serve, willing to learn, and he understands that he knows there are things he's going to have to learn and fit in with the system. And so with that, and the one of the other questions was about not overextending yourself, because you have to appreciate the fact that from our perspective, your being here is and on time and participating and so on is the most important thing. Not that your personal life or an outside job or anything else doesn't fit, but at some point in all of our service, we have to make that decision that do we want to continue to be on the board and, make adjustments as we go along or not? And then being able to get here, reliable transportation, understanding the protocol and the chain of command. So if you're running late, that's okay. Just let somebody know. Just as you've let us know in advance that you have to be somewhere by 6 o'clock in order to cast the vote. And incidentally, you're welcome to return afterwards, because the Moose Lodge is just 5 minutes down the back. So I'll be the first to say that I think Brian would be a good member, a valuable member, and he brings a perspective and motivation and advocacy in the community that is different than mine. And I'm not necessarily looking for a clone, but somebody to bring something interesting to the table. We're all unique individuals, and we all have different perspectives and things to offer. And I see Brian is offering, bringing yet a different perspective to the table. And so I say I support Brian being our new board member.
Melissa and Brianna, do you have any further questions, comments? Do you think we're ready to move as far as making a motion one way or another?
I think the last question that I would like to ask is, it's obviously not necessary to have your children enrolled in our school, but I'm just wondering, is there a barrier that our school is not providing for your children? Is there a reason why they are not enrolled with us, or is it because they're already graduated? What is that scenario?
Because they're in high school and they are, one is already out of school. They were in Glen Paul, so we don't have the services here for that. And then my other son is at the high school. He's actually over the age of 18. And then I have one that's at Eureka High, who's a freshman in high school.
Okay, thank you.
It might be beneficial for Melissa to understand what
Glen
Glen
Paul
Paul
is,
is.
that's what I was just thinking. Do you want to explain to her
Sure.
about Glen
For
Paul?
those who don't know what Glen Paul is, they are a school that deals with not just the autistic community, but people with Down syndrome or any other special needs. That basically deal with that schools can't provide for them, and they provide more services for them, like if they need a nurse, provide different kinds of educational setting. That's basically what Glen Paul is.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. That's kind of what I meant by like, is there like a barrier that? Thank you.
And if I could piggyback off of that, thank you for providing that information. Do you see yourself being an advocate and taking a role of maybe helping our schools become a more accessible place for people, for children that have different needs?
Well, hopefully that you guys already are there, but I've always been an advocate. I'm on the board of Humboldt Alliance, I'm an advocate there, I'm an advocate anywhere I go. But if there's things that we need to change or for growth, I'm all for the discussion.
Yeah, I think if you guys feel ready to make a motion, I think personally, I think that those things I said prior, that Brian would be a good person for fundraising and representing us publicly and being a thinker and being a researcher. I appreciate that a lot. I think this is just to you, fellow board members. I think something that I would really like to see on our board is filling areas that we don't, us four. I can see that there's always space for showing face in community. I think that's wonderful. I personally really appreciated when Bianca was able to look over the budget and say, oh, I can see that there's this change, or I can hear that we're doing these things, but we're unable to do these things. Where is this represented in our budget? And she was just really good with accounting and numbers. And I feel that because I don't have that skill, I wish that we could bring that to the board. So that was something that I was kind of hoping for in a candidate, if I were to be honest about my hopes. And I think that I just want to ask you guys just something to ponder. Do you feel that there are areas on the board that are lacking in the current board that we have now that we would want fulfilled? And in which case, once we have a full board of 5, the areas that we do not have will still be on. For instance, just talking about negotiating salaries and talking about how we can look at the numbers for healthcare and things like that. Those are really crucial components to our work as a board. And I feel like, I can't speak for you guys, but I don't know that we have those areas. So I just want you guys to consider, those are some of my personal concerns just for who I personally would like, what I would like to bring to the board of skills I don't have.
I think that all of us, as Jerry used the term unique, I think that all of us bring certain strengths to the board. And I appreciate that you had said that Bianca was our numbers gal, because she was. And that you, by your own admission, have said, I'm not. And I think that part of it, we have grown into different areas. And as Jerry said, our new board member will have a learning curve. I feel that listening to Brian, my concern also is spreading yourself too thin. I do know that the boards that you sit on and your outside associations are very, very important, not only to the community, but they're near and dear to you. And if you are selected, we do want that same commitment from you that you have for the other boards and organizations that you're involved with.
Yeah.
Right? Are you a numbers guy?
Numbers?
Uh-huh.
Depends on what numbers you're referring to. No, let me ask what you were saying, because the thing that I do at the news blog doesn't take much of my time. It's just social media. It's not like I'm on a board or I'm doing that, and you like was elected to their thing. It's would not be, you would be my most commitment because you're more time consuming, and this would outweigh all the other. And with Humboldt Autism Alliance, they have to where there might be events going on, but I meet with them once a month, but it's not like a school where we're doing it, and they don't have the, let's just say their fundraising is all over the place. It's not like it'd be with the school. So I have slotted, and knowing my wife and talking with her, she knows how much time I have. She wouldn't be allowing me to sit here if I couldn't do it.
Notice the word aloud, Jerry. Did you pick up on that,
I'm
Jerry?
telling you. But I wanna say something too about you were talking about money and teacher salary raises. That's something that's dear to me, and I'll tell you why. Because my wife was not getting paid what she was worth in the public schools. Her salary was very low. So when it comes up to salary, my ears are like listening, because I'll remember my wife when she didn't get paid for what she was worth. So that's another unique perspective, because anytime there's with teachers, they are important. You need to retain your teachers. And that's where it comes with retaining them, paying them what they need, and getting that money that we need. It's a balance.
It is a balance, and coming from my former life, none of us are paid what we feel that we're worth. We just can't, we can't do that. And I hear what you're saying, because from being on the other side of the table, wanting better compensation and whatnot, we all deserve to be paid what we're worth, but we can't. We just,
Yeah.
we can't do it. All right. Brianna, do you have any questions or comments, or you think we're ready to move forward?
I don't think I do. I'm sorry. I'm looking over my notes. I'm a copious note taker. So, I think that most of my concerns have been addressed. I still do have a few, but those don't necessarily have to do with you. It has to do with the what the next board member that comes in, where their focus is going to really be. I think that we have struggled and continue to struggle a little bit with the separation of Siskiyou and Humboldt, and where the focus of energies and monies and everything that happens is a little heavy on the Humboldt side, which is because that's our center of administration, and there is a larger enrollment, there's more schools there. But I think that one of my concerns is a lot of the things that you talked about that you have to bring to the table, which it's a great package. And I think that you could really do a lot for the schools and for the board, especially with your connections in the community, larger community, and the fundraising that you are interested in doing and everything else. But one of my kind of concerns there is that it seems like all of that's going to probably be in that community, rather than bringing things to the board that is for the umbrella of the whole organization. I don't know if that makes any sense. That's why I'm trying to look over my notes here, because I think that you do have some great connections in the larger community there, but those don't really affect our point of view from over here either. So I guess what I'm trying to get is that a lot of the great things that you're offering, I can't really speak to, because I don't see that they're going to be affecting Siskiyou as much. And my job is to represent Siskiyou. So that's kind of my only vacillation that's left, is that it's really, in some ways, I kind of feel like it's not really even my role to say yay or nay on this one, because I don't think that it's, what's been brought to the table is really going to change much, or balance much out than it already is. I think it'll be I think you'd be a great fit for the team in Humboldt. But I'm not sure that really affects anything on this side of the divide, meaning the mountains, not the divide socially. So that's really my only remaining concern. I do really like that you do have those connections in the community, and I think that it'd be great to have someone on the board that has an outside perspective, that could step back. And sometimes when you're in the forest, you can't see the trees. And I think that because you do have the past connection with our school and you're familiar with it, but you are not of it right now, that would be something that would be really, really great for you to bring to the board. That it would benefit all of us. So those were the only two things that I kind of was still balancing. And I think that it would be great to have you on the board as a representative for students that have extra needs. And I think that that's something that we could use in all of our schools. Coming from a family that struggles with mental illness and autism, that it's something that would be really great to have an advocate on the board to advocate with. That was my only hesitation, after everything we've gone through.
Thank you. Jerry, do you have any
Well,
follow-ups?
I hear what Brianna is saying, and I appreciate where she's coming from. All of this, school board and the administration, which on this side, it's, this side versus that side. So there's Kirk, Rebecca, and others, and Sherry oversees all of it. The other officers of the board are in Humboldt, and it's just the dynamic of the articles of incorporation in our bylaws that's based upon the majority of students. The lion's share of the function of the district lies in Humboldt County. And so we're all partners in this. I don't presume to know the layout of the learning centers in Siskiyou. I defer to Kurt a lot to make the decisions and the interactions with the landlords and finding the proper person to make the sign and
You did a good job.
and to deal with all those things and deal with emergencies such as a overflowing toilet that floods the floor. That's their job, that's their role, and our main function is the fiscal oversight of the district, and we take actions largely based on recommendations by our school director And, you know, then it all flows from there. So we each bring, different things and from our background. So we have, one individual, you know, based on their prior experience with public elementary schools, knows a lot about school lunches and those programs and that. One of us was a former public school board member and school board president and lead negotiator with the teachers in their contract salary negotiations. So, you know, I think we have all the components, you know, that's necessary. We need somebody to fill the vacancy. We have a newer chief financial officer that we're all thrilled with, that points out, if you go back and think, when we met in Siskiyou, she pointed out in her charts, you know, differences and gave explanations as to why there were differences. And so, yeah, I suppose it might be wonderful to have a candidate that is an accountant or tax attorney, but that might be overblown. And then I find myself asking, sometimes you have to be careful what you wish for, because that could be, you know, a lot of nitpicking that becomes nightmarish. So I actually saw Bianca's questioning of the numbers and the differences more born out of being new to looking at the documents rather than, you know, and just out of curiosity, you know, why these things, than any other reason. I've seen lots of financial documents and kind of have an understanding of how that works from state level all the way down to the local level. And you know, rarely do I dig through and try to find out why something is different than it's not. I just have faith in the system, faith in the personnel that we have responsible for those things. So I didn't mean to get so way off track. I mean, I hear the concerns and reservations, and in an ideal world, this and that, but we're faced with making a decision, you know, now, and move forward.
And if I may, I don't want to scare you away by what I said. It's amazing to me how really tight the board is, as well as the school and the administrators, and what you said about Kirk. And I mean, that I don't want you to, what I said to sound quite the way it sounded. But yeah, there really is no, well, that's why when I said the divide, I meant just the mountains. There really has one of the things I enjoy about sitting on this board is that we don't have that inviting. We do trust each other. We do work together as a team, both on the board and the administrators and the teachers. All together, it's a really cohesive group. So I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't coming across representing something that is not the case. So yeah, no fear.
And to piggyback on that, I guess it made me think, I personally hope that you are curious and interested in supporting the growth in Siskiyou and understanding what it's like over here, so that we can get a little more help too, so that we can all continue to build this support of each other's sites and functionings. And with that being said, I think that we probably should make some decisions now. And thank you, Jerry, for responding to those statements. It is very helpful.
All right, well, before I move on, I do have one final question. Do you have reservations sitting here for the last hour and 20 minutes? Have you changed your mind at all?
Scare them all.
Did we scare
No.
you? Okay, then.
No, but those are some really good questions, and I'm open to really hearing what the Siskiyou side knows. because
Okay,
Those are some concerns, if we're allowed every board's different. But if we're allowed to do that, I'm all for it. I don't wanna go beyond my, scope and go, you've gotta do this, or but if those are legitimate concerns, have a discussion.
there we go.
I love it.
Well, I
Okay,
think it's important to note that every board member, no matter where they live,
Yeah.
represents both schools.
Yeah,
Even
yeah.
though there's not
That's
a board member
No,
that represents.
That's
Siskiyou on the
good,
board.
I want them to know that,
It's-
that's
yeah.
good, that's what I'm hoping, because when she was talking, like, don't we represent them too?
Yeah.
yes.
And so, yeah, I'm most welcome, definitely hearing ideas.
And still being on 2.2, consideration of appointment of new board member, is there a motion?
When the motion's made, whose turn, since we've been.
Yeah, it's in the back, it's in the board packet,
Okay,
it's
so that's
December
the meeting
11th,
motion.
2026.
Okay,
So what's the,
December,
The term ends December 11th, 2026, because he's filling a
Right.
term that was already existing. So
Right, right.
That's when the term
Oh,
that
then I
he's
did-
filling ends.
What happens after that term?
after that term ends, you have two choices.
Okay,
You can say, I've had enough, thank you, but no thanks, moving along, or I want to continue for another term.
oh, okay.
and you'll have the opportunity,
Now, when you're filling in with somebody, I don't know about the bylaw, but usually when you can only have so many terms. This isn't what you count as a full term, right?
No, it
This would
doesn't.
not.
That's why I said this one ends December 11th,
Right.
2026.
But you can serve for how many terms, you said?
We've been here 6 years.
Oh, okay, I wasn't sure. Well, I wasn't sure what your limit is.
Yeah, there's no limit to the number of terms.
Oh, okay. So-
like the United States Supreme Court.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
that's
I
another,
just want to get the out the open.
Yeah,
Yes.
and what it was going to say, you'll have the ability in the September of 2026 to, when it comes up
Right.
on the board agenda, to say, I plan on continuing, or
Okay,
I'm going to vacate when
gotcha.
my term is
Okay,
up.
okay.
okay. So I will repeat my question. 2.2, consideration of appointment of new NUCS board member. Is there a motion?
I move that the board appoints Brian Payton to fill the vacant board position whose term expires December 2026.
Is there a second?
I second.
Is that Melissa?
It was.
That was Melissa. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, Jerry,
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
Brianna,
I'm going to have, I'm gonna have to say I either abstain or no, but if I could just make an explanation that my concerns don't have to do with particularly anything about you or your position or what you have to bring to the table. I'm not sure that from our perspective, that it would be the greatest fit. But that being said, nothing is the greatest fit and there is no such thing in the world. So, but at the moment, I'm gonna have to say, can I abstain? Because this is also the only person that we have interviewed. But that also may be because there are no other options too. But I do have concerns about, what Jerry said about the most important thing is just being here or showing up, which it is very important. But I do have some reservations about just, I think that's, so, yeah, I'm gonna have to abstain on voting on this one.
okay? And I agree with Jerry and Melissa and in favor of Brian being our new board member. Motion carries. Welcome. And I'm gonna make it really fast so that you can get out of here, because you have something really important that you need to take care of.
Remember, you're welcome to come back.
And you are welcome to come back,
Yeah, I'll
because this is just today's
definitely come back.
meeting. Okay, all right. Please
And
raise
Brian, it
your,
was a pleasure meeting you. Thank you for your time today, and I look forward to working with you.
Thank you guys for all your honesty. I appreciate it.
all right. I guess I have to raise mine too. I don't know. Okay, I, Brian Payton,
I, Brian Payton,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
that I will bear truth and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of
and the
California,
Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, what's that again?
Without any mental reservation
Without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
and purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
that I will and faithfully
discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
to discharge the duties about what I'm about to enter.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you for making that official.
You're welcome. Congratulations.
And
And we're full.
I just want to clarify one thing. Thank you. I know that this is the second time that you have applied to be a board member. And
I went up against the greatest, Amy Schneider, and you can't go wrong.
there you
I knew
go.
her before, so.
Aha, I wasn't here the last go round, but I do know that you had applied, and so I appreciate you coming back and applying a second time. And so I want you to go now
All right,
and do come back.
I will.
Perfect. Okay.
All right, thank you.
No, you said, oh, excuse.
Oh, you're excused.
You know, when you guys come back, the door will probably be locked. It locks automatically. You could, that would be good.
Okay.
Or if you lock knock loudly, that's what I was gonna say,
Well,
but you can do
just
this one.
here.
Yeah, come to this one. Yeah.
Okay. That was an hour and a half. If you feel that we need to take a bathroom break of 5 minutes, say the word, or we will carry on.
I'm going to take
Yes.
a quick restroom break if that's all right. I'm sorry, guys.
If I just need to stretch and follow her. When you're, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. We are reconvening after our recess at 5:34. And we're going to move on to the consent agenda, which is 3.1, consideration of approval of warrants and payroll for Northern United Humboldt Charter School. 3.2, consideration of warrants and payroll for Northern United Siskiyou Charter School, batch number 0228, 0229, 0301, 0302, 0314, 0315, 0322, 0419, and 0422. 3.3, consideration of approval of minutes for March 7th, 8th, 13th, and 20th board meetings. 3.4, consideration of resignations, hires, leaves, and change of assignments. 3.5, consideration of approval of minutes, or excuse me, consideration of approval of Williams Uniform Complaint Quarterly Report for NU Siskiyou. Are there any questions or comments about any of those items?
No.
I do. On 3.3, approval of the minutes. On the 8th, I don't think that we had a guest. We had,
Oh, we took that off.
we have,
We did, he wasn't there on Thursday, he was there on Fridays.
The opposite. It's the opposite. He was there on
on
Thursday, not
on
Friday.
Friday, and
So we took him, yeah.
and both minutes reflect that he was in attendance.
I thought I had taken that off the 8th. Linda wasn't sure because she wasn't there.
Yeah.
And she gave me it with it both on, and I'm sorry, that was my fault. I thought I had taken that off.
Yeah,
Okay, so we'll correct that. Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Take off Aiden.
Yes,
Yes.
take off Aiden from the 8th.
Good job, Rosemary.
all right, hearing no other comments or,
Can I just say one thing?
Yes.
So, you know, Brianna, you're signing the minutes. Don't, you know what? Maybe what I'll do is fix that right now because it's on my computer and then email it to you. You probably can't print it right now, though.
I can electronically sign
Is
it.
Donnie still there? I can have him, I can email it to him and he could print it, just so that you could sign it, unless you're gonna come by again at some point.
Well, I'll be here tomorrow.
Oh, well, then I'll just do it before then. I'll
Yeah,
have
and
like Danya.
Just right
I'll
around
have
the corner
Danya-
too. So, yeah, not a
I'll have
problem.
Danya do that. Thank you.
Yeah, because I'm gonna be here. I just spoke with Kate before I got here. So I'll be here to meet with her about the sustainable ag class
Perfect.
tomorrow or
Thank
the
you.
next day too.
okay. Hearing no other comments, is there a motion?
I move to accept the consent agenda with the change that we just spoke about on the presentation.
Okay, is there a second?
I seconded the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, Jerry, Melissa,
Aye.
Brianna,
Aye.
And I also agree, motion carries. 4.1, public comments. Comments by the public. Under this item, the public is invited to address the board regarding items that are not on today's agenda. Please keep your comments concise, brief, and limited to 3 minutes. The board is not allowed under the law to take action on matters that are not on the agenda. Should comments from the public pertain to a charge or complaint against an employee of Northern United Humboldt Charter School or Northern United Siskiyou Charter School, the board encourages the speaker to utilize the school's written complaint procedures to pursue the matter. The public will have an opportunity to comment on all agenda items as those items are heard. Do we have any public comments? All right.
Thank goodness we're not Northern Humboldt School District.
Oh, there we go. What? Moving on to items to be considered. 5.1, approval of employee contribution toward health benefits.
Okay, I guess I need to stop.
You need to stop talking. Yes.
Okay, and can I just say, when I opened up these minutes on my computer, that's not there, so I'm very confused. Aiden's name's not there. I don't know how I managed
I printed
that.
mine the day that you sent them.
I mean, look,
so-
I went to just fix it and it wasn't there. I don't even understand how
Okay.
that happened, but anyway, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Because I thought we fixed it.
We did, that's what's throwing me, but that's okay, that's all right, we're moving on. Moving on.
Moving on.
Carrie, I think they're back.
Oh, that was
It
bad.
has
You
not.
said it was gonna be really fast.
Well,
You
the
need
moose.
none of that.
I know, there he is. What's that?
Yeah. So, I will be.
I can't hear Sherry.
Welcome back,
Oh, thank you. Good to be on the side.
and we will get you a nameplate.
Oh,
You walk out as a guest and walk back in.
I know.
That's what they don't think in Denver.
Little Disney magic never heard.
Okay, you know what, do you need a copy of the agenda?
Oh,
Yeah, I would
That-
like one,
yeah.
please. I need
I
to
know.
have one.
I emailed one to you, but you probably want one printed out.
That would be great.
I'll make a copy of this one. It's got some notes on it right now, you can disregard, but that's okay. Sorry, I'm he's in here.
Yeah.
And we are just to action items when that comes back, which is 5.1, approval of employer contribution towards health insurance or
Oh,
health
Yes,
benefits.
yeah, I
Okay.
guess you could have just shared, but okay, so this, in the board packet, I put the background information on this. And we actually talked about this already when it was, second interim, you might remember. That we mentioned that when Kelly did the budget for second interim, she went ahead and included in that second interim budget the cost of doing the same thing that we've been doing, covering that spruce medical plan as well as the vision and dental. And what she did is she just guessed that it would be like a 5% increase for medical, because that's, kind of what she was being, she was hoping she was being conservative. And she actually was, but you remember that at second interim, when she did that, we still were well over the 10% ending balance in both schools. So, and then after that, then the rates were set, the insurance rates were set, and they were actually less than what she had set aside and put in that budget. Thank you. So that's why we felt pretty confident in just bringing this to you with what's on the bottom of that page, like how much the increase would be in Humboldt and then how much the decrease would be in Siskiyou. We've seen that before, and that's because a very senior teacher is retiring at the end of this year, and so and we're not replacing her. We're doing some switching around of what's happening in Mount Shasta. You might remember, instead of doing the 4-day-a-week program, more to a home-based model where they're gonna have different age groups come like one day a week. So that's why we're not replacing that teacher. So that's why there was actually a cost savings there. But anyway, we put in there what the increase is or decrease to in Siskiyou's case, and then what the ending balances would be for both schools. So we're just asking that the same situation happen that has for the last couple of years, which is covering the cost of spruce, and of course, the dental and vision is included as well for all full-time employees. And then it's prorated for people who aren't full-time. So anyone who's, for example, half-time, we would pay half and they would pick up the additional cost and so on. Anyone under half-time is not eligible to be on the insurance, and that's not an our policy thing, that's the insurance policy. But anyway, so that's what we're asking for again. So if there's any questions, we would be happy to answer.
Any questions?
I had two. First one, I was wondering, it makes logical sense, you know, if they're not full-time, if they're only a partial time, we would pay that partial time or whatever, half. How did we come up with that? I'm just wondering like how that was.
Well, the paying fully for a full-time employee, a full-time employee has no option. They have to take the insurance. And that, again, that's not an our rule, that's the insurance's rule. So if you're full-time, you have to take the insurance. But anything less than full-time, it's up to you if you want to take it or not. And so, you know, what usually makes that decision for somebody is how much is going to come out of their pocket. And so we've always prorated based on their FTE, whatever their work agreement was for, however much time, that's the portion that we would cut, because that's the portion that is our obligation, is kind of how we looked at it. If full-time, if we're paying full-time, a full-time person's the whole amount, then the equal thing would be paying a part-time person's the same part-time that they're working.
Okay. And have we received feedback from like our employees on like if this was good, this is what they prefer, did they give us any feedback? I know in the beginning they were super stoked, right? I'm just wondering as looking back at it now with some time.
Same. They have been thrilled with this. Because, you know, before that was not the case. It wasn't like fully covering it. There was a cap set. You know, the school was only paying up to a certain amount. Well, the plans were way beyond what the cap was. And so much was coming out of people's pockets. So people are still very thrilled, though every year we're sure to tell them that there's no guarantee that that's what's going to continue to happen. You know, at some point, if we're unable to afford paying the full coverage, you know, then that would be a decision we would have to make. So we try to be very transparent about that. And so right now they've been very happy that this has been happening. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I think they wrote a thank you card before.
They did.
Yeah, I know. I think they did. I think every year, I think they have written a thank you card after the fact, because they kind of wait, like open enrollment starts May 1st. And so nobody wants to make a decision about what plan they're going to pick till they know what's going to be covered. And so once this board meeting happens, then we announce to all of the staff, you know, the decision that was made. And that's when you guys usually get the thank you card.
Thank you, Sherry.
Yeah.
I just want to point out that previously when they had to contribute and then we all made the decision, the board made the decision to cover all of it. One great way to think of that, that savings was non-taxable income.
Oh, something just happened on
Oh yeah, Yeah, we just lost you guys. Oh, let me see if my new glasses happened.
The mouse is over here.
Oh. My son's computer has a mouse and you can use the thing and the touch.
I don't think that. Let's see, read the chat. It's the chat. And
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Yeah.
Okay, that's just from the beginning. I sent Kirk a message. It's also recording on ours, by the way.
Nice. We still have the participants. They're all in there.
Oh, everybody else is.
Wait, yeah, they're all their cameras
Go
went
ahead
off.
and tell them that in
Yeah,
chat.
it's I don't know.
Hey, this is Rebecca. Linda just said that Sherry's working on getting connected again.
Okay, thank you, Rebecca.
Okay, cool.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. You're awesome.
Thank you.
We can mute hers for now.
Yeah.
We can see yours, Sherry. No volume yet, but. If you guys are trying to talk to us, it says that you're muted. But we can see you. Hi, Jerry.
Just use sign language. We could do mime movements, charades for the rest of the board meeting. Act out the words of their voice.
Can you?
Oh, there we go. We
hear
can hear
us?
you now. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry. Where did we lose you?
Oh, that's a good question. Where,
We're on 5.1.
yeah, so we just, yeah, I think Sherry was talking and you guys just disappeared. Everybody disappeared.
We were just
to
talking
us.
about the difference of the part-time versus the full-time, and Sherry was explaining that.
then
And
got past
then we
that.
moved past the next, and then it was just like right after that we dropped you.
Okay.
So I think it's
Okay. I think that was, yeah, I think we're all.
Then I will ask a question. I see on the chart here that, there's active employees and retirees. Do the retirees have the option of the dental and vision plan as the active do? Okay.
They have to be.
Okay.
Retirees have to offer them only in.
Right.
Versus the employees have
The package.
in order to get.
Okay. Right. Hearing no more comments or questions, is there a motion?
I move
move-
that we approve the employer contribution toward health benefits as,
And is there a second?
I second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Jerry?
I,
Brian?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Brianna? Okay, and I also agree. Motion carries. 1 to 5.2.
Melissa was one of the second.
yeah,
Approval of the 2024-25 United Charter Schools certificated and classified pay schedules.
Okay, I'm sorry. Sorry, this one was a mess, out with the 23-24 year at the top. And then I sent it out in saying that it was the speech and psych that we messed, it wasn't, it was the counselor line that we messed up on. We didn't raise that one, raising that one, but when I emailed you guys about it today, I said school psych and then the counselor line, that was all. But anyway, so the one I emailed this afternoon or whenever that was this morning is the final version, and I brought this in case somebody didn't get a chance to look at like the actual final one. The classified you had gotten previously was okay. It was just that certificated one that was off. But anyway, as I said in the background sheet, we did around on the pay scale again. Just this is kind of the time of year we do it in for next year. We changed it. We increased the basically what we did is off column 1 on like the school psych and the counselor, and then kind of pushed it all down rather than adding a column 8. That's what we did in the certificated salary section. I'm trying to think if that may have been the old, was that the only certificated change? What was that? Regional. Oh yeah, the regional director as well, did the same thing. And then in the classified one, we changed the C, did that same situation, and all the hourly positions and the one-on-one tutor changed. Oh, that we removed the food position. There had been a food service one there. And just like to idea of like why some of these changes. The food service one, I don't know if you remember, but before we had a food service coordinator like we do now, we had one person at our kind of quasi take on the role for the center. And so the last couple of years, actually, we've had an actual like food service director, and we haven't needed those positions anymore. So there was no point in having them on the pay scale. Same with, we had a behavior support aide position on the pay scale. And again, we don't have anybody filling that role. And so we took the position off. Let's see, I'm trying to think. You know, the real reason we did the classified hourly is to keep with what's happening in the state. You guys know, now the fast food workers get $20 an hour. And so if you're paying $6 an hour to be an aide, it's a lot harder to attract people, when they faces. So that's why we made those changes. Any questions? And Melissa and Brianna, will they hear all that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could hear you. I did have just 2 questions about just nothing specific, but it's been a minute since I've seen one of these. Under the certified salary teacher positions where it's broken down per student amount, is that per student that it's the per student that the independent teacher is actually teaching, right? Or is it per student that's in in the school that they're at. I didn't explain that well.
It's the, right, yes, it's the number of students on their roster.
Okay,
So we consider a full-time teacher 5 students. So if you are a home-based independent study teacher, 5 is what qualifies as full-time.
Okay.
So if you only have, 13 students, then you would get whatever line you were on, that dollar amount times 13. That would be your salary.
Okay.
And the lines are years?
So the rows are the amount of students in the row?
No, the
No, or
rows
the years.
are, the rows are years of experience
Years.
of the
Years.
teacher.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you. You said years?
Years of experience of
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. And then the other question is down, and I don't know if it's the same one on yours. Yeah, down on the bottom under the miscellaneous pay types. I just want to make sure because the way the table is set up, is the master's degree 1,000 per year, or only one recognized? Is that connected to substitute teacher, or is that a separate section of the table altogether?
Yeah, that's a separate thing altogether, not related to.
Okay.
Yes,
Just wanted to-
and the line between
Thank
them
you.
were a little dark. Yeah, basically that goes right down the center there, like, the things on the right side of it and the things on the side.
Yeah,
Well, I guess
that's
that's
the
not.
way I read it. I
The
just wanted to make sure.
longevity altogether, but yeah.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, that was what was throwing me off, was that
Yeah.
continued, but then the top, yeah.
Just gotta
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
I just wanna make sure I was reading it right.
Brian, do you have any questions? Okay. Jerry? I do.
Okay, good.
I have, maybe I'll show it to you. I have a question about I see
Okay.
that, non-classified folks all receive down the line, $2,000 increases. And here, we have 75 cents and over here, they're from last year's one, and you slid them over, like you said, getting we're looking $18.25 and $19. And then we step back and step number 1 starts at $18 instead of 18 and a quarter. And then 19 for step, whereas step 2 is 18.75. It just doesn't.
There's 5 cents apart each
Right,
step.
right.
It's just that this was 18.25 and 18.
It didn't carry,
Mhm.
and I just want to make sure not only trying to stay up with the new minimum wage, but we're competitive with other districts.
Good one.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess the choice could have been made to make this start at the 18.25, 19.
Yeah, where these ended here,
Uh-huh.
because that was the way you had done it on all the other boxes is one and just kind of slid
Yeah,
over there.
except for this section.
mhm.
Uh-huh. True. It's classified hourly. Yeah, it's done the same way, right? I mean,
Well, these are the two consistent with
Well,
the others. See, these two down here to add,
well, this, oh, this. Yeah, okay. I see.
Yeah. but these two, it starts
Is this one? Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
is. And this one. So it's at administrative assistant down.
it's at secretary, office clerk, secretary, and
Oh, yeah.
custodian.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
They're losing
Mhm.
from going from 2023, 24, and to the moving forward to 25, they're
Yeah.
losing money.
Yeah,
Correctly.
yep, you're right. These should have started at 8:25.
Uh-huh.
Are you
And
looking
then-
at that,
and
Linda?
then
Do you
it
want to
should
see a
be.
copy?
You guys are losing us because you guys are looking at the thing and as you're communicating, we're having troubles hearing you, but also we're losing what you're referring to because we aren't seeing what you're looking
Because
at.
I'm talking directly to
Yeah.
Sherry instead of the whole group. Right?
We're just trying to follow
Nod
along.
your head, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay.
All of these, it's like whatever, and you pull it back here, except these guys. Since they're starting at 18:25, so this would have been, we started at 8. I don't think we tried to start in that. Yeah. Every other one was.
Uh-huh.
I don't think that was intentional. Yeah, I know, this was totally.
Right.
But it is weird that we changed, that we did all the other ones, we
Uh-huh.
took that, so just lobbing off and moving it down,
Yeah.
but then those ones we
And
did,
I
each one.
important to be consistent on those two
Yeah.
line items.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Are you seeing?
Yeah, I know.
seeing-
Or we started with just putting instructional aids at $20 an hour, and then the key consistency was in amount of different.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
In between pattern and fully, and between the class.
And then we picked up, Joey's thing about on the technicians.
Uh-huh.
And what their thing was, so we based what we started that one on.
But 21 was actually something, oh no, it wasn't something that we had paid before. Was it? It's beyond what we had paid per technician.
Okay, no,
Two.
we tried to take into consideration what the actually
Yeah, it was. that.
were and what we were gonna
Yeah.
ask them to
Yeah.
do. And that put our step one and then to board whatever.
It just, with those two though, we didn't do that same, like,
Yeah.
yeah. Like technician before 21 had been on the long list, and so that was just
Well,
moved down.
Step, column 5 used to be 22.
Thank you.
Right, but no, 21 was on there also though.
Yeah, but it was column 4.
Right. But what we're saying is the new one, office clerk that starts at 18 wasn't even on there before, 1825 was.
Yeah, right.
Yes,
Right.
yep. So like that same pattern of taking what was on there, it all down.
And then we-
Because that wasn't really what we were doing. We weren't keeping that, just a coincidence that those other ones had done.
Yeah.
That's what she's saying, like, we looked on a job, job comparison thing to see what technicians started at. It's kind of just a coincidence. 21 was already on our pay scale.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's why that seems like, why wouldn't you just keep doing the same? Because we
See,
weren't
that's-
doing that.
Why not?
Yeah.
Should we be?
No, I
Good.
think that makes sense.
I do too.
No, I totally think that makes sense. Would mean that the office clerk, secretary, and the custodian one would start at 8:25. And then it would just go up
Go
a
up.
quarter each one, so then 19.
Going up 75.
Yeah, so then $19.
That would be the next, right.
Once I plug in 18.
It automatically, it's a
Oh,
format.
Populate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, totally. It's so funny how people can see it different, have a different
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
And I can see after looking at all of the, you would have thought that that's what we were doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, because like I said, the certificate, all of those were very clean, $2,000
Yes.
all the way down. The classified that, well, maybe it was 75 cents or maybe it was $1, that type of thing.
And that stayed consistent,
Uh-huh.
but just the moving and
Right.
over, yeah.
Right. Okay,
Yeah, interesting.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Hearing questions or comments, is there a motion?
So the motion would be to approve.
I guess we just have to say over here, we don't We didn't catch what the change was, so I'm not sure we can motion for it.
And then Justine across. Uh-oh.
Melissa, did you say you didn't hear what the change
We
was?
can motion because we didn't really hear what was going on.
Yeah. The-
Yeah, it basically, if you guys are looking at the classified salary schedule, the new draft one, number 4 and 5 under classified hourly employees starting at 18, it would start at 18.25. And then each would be 75 cents more.
Okay, and the reason we chose that was just to be caught up to understanding.
Because if you look at the ones before that and compared them to the pay schedule, there was this pattern that was happening where we just kind of we took off the last 2 columns and scooted them down, made them the first 2 columns. But those 2, it didn't happen that way. And so just for consistency, we want to make the changes to those lines. We want those changes the same as the changes that we did for the others in terms of consistency.
Yeah, perfect.
I don't know if that.
Yeah.
And can I ask one,
Mhm.
how come some of them are going up 75 cents and some are going up $1?
That was my other question.
Yeah, that's the way they were before, and
Yes, yes, I have that.
it's because it has taken on, so in my opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong, like it's because it's taken on so many different iterations. Like there was a time where the ones weren't grouped together,
No, that's right.
and so maybe they were sections, and the ones that were 75 were in one group. And so like because we changed formats, it's there's not really a rhyme or other than that's what the increment increases had been in the past ones.
I mean, but the time if we wanted to make them all
The same.
consistent at $1,
That's when you call
It's
should happen
probably
now, so we can maybe lay it to rest for.
probably easier for payroll if they're all the same increments or whatever. I don't know.
I think it would be good if we did them all the same increments. It would be more comprehensible and everybody would feel like no matter what position they were in, they were getting the same type of treatment along the ladder.
I think also for transparency for the public, if someone were to look at our documents,
Yeah.
that would,
agree with that.
it would not raise more questions.
That's very important.
Thank you guys for recognizing that.
So
Yeah.
Brian asked, does that work with the budget though? Because that means is pretty significant increases instead of it being a 75-cent increase, it would be a increase each time, in addition to the major increase we're doing already. The first column started out at whatever, 616, and it's already jumping to 20, because keep in mind, people are placed in lots of different places.
Right.
So I'm not opposed for the dollar thing. I just want to make sure that there's the budget for it.
Supports that.
Yeah.
To everything.
Thank you.
Just-
Going to $1, does that mean that I need my
Yeah.
$18 starting point?
I have a question.
And
About that?
up $1 each
Yeah.
time.
Disagree with that, only because looking
That
at,
pattern.
looking at the chart, to me, it just sticks out.
So that'd be 1825, 1925, 5.
And then raising $1 from that.
Okay,
I have
that's right.
What solution did you guys come up with?
You also have to remember this is a pretty significant increase for everybody that was on those lines, because it was really started at $17.
Yeah, these people are gonna get like $5 an hour raises.
Does this need to be approved tonight?
I think yes,
If we wanted to include it in budget adoption.
yeah, budget
That would
adoption is,
start.
yeah.
And also I have to start all the work agreements for them. At least. So I'll need to know where to put them.
Is it clear to everyone what is done?
So I think Brianna and Melissa asked, what did we just, we agreed with you that they should all be $1 increases rather than cent increases.
Okay, so we were thinking that either way would be good as long as they were balanced, like if they had all been 75 cents or $1, you know, just that they would all be, you know, streamlined. And because that is a very good point that it will highly affect our budget potentially. And so you guys are saying that we would make that change? We would be going, all of these would go to $1? Sorry, it's
Well,
like
that's the conversation we're having. That's the conversation that's happening right now.
currently.
I think the question is
Yeah.
the budget part.
Yeah, so then we asked, would the budget support that? And she said, keep in mind that this is already a pretty significant increase because some of these positions started at $15.50 or whatever an hour, and now they're gonna be 20 something an hour. So it is,
We're on that
Yeah.
step one.
yeah,
Quite a few.
anybody that we are gonna be hiring this.
Instructional aides that are on step one.
So when I was looking at this, my brain automatically, when we're looking at balancing them out, out of the 5 columns, or sorry, out of the 5 rows, there were 2 that were different than the other 3. So can we rewind the 2 that are different, that are the dollar increases, and make those 75-cent increases? So they match the other 3 instead of going up?
Yeah, either can work. We could do, all of them have a cent jump, or all of them have a $1 jump.
That'd be one, yeah.
Since we are raising the office clerk and custodian to $825, it might be closer to a balance to lower the others, and I don't know if that seems like it makes sense. Would we be, yeah.
I think they should all be 75-cent jumps, the way that the 3 are.
I don't think that.
So-
lower. Posted and people, yeah.
I think $1, I mean, as long as we can afford it, I think $1 increase, I mean, because you're thinking like, this is after something for you for a year. Really, a 75-cent raise is not, I know if we're changing this, it will be more than a 75 cent, but like moving forward.
Right.
I feel like I say this every year, and every year we are having to bring this back because of minimum wage.
Yeah.
I feel like we're having to change this all the time.
You gotta keep up.
Inflation over the last 3 years.
So I heard the justification in moving from 23, 24, row 1, classified hourly, from 17 because of increase in minimum wage.
Yeah.
What's the explanation? And so here's then 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
That is applicable.
Yeah.
So what's the explanation for 4 and 5? The in the old and
Yeah.
current one, which is then 5, 16, but only moving up to 18 and now 18, 20.
As opposed to like 20, like why not 20? I think for that, we were looking at the
The salaries are going for HCD.
yeah, this,
And we're trying, and not per se overzealous.
Okay, so, but not being overzealous with the instructional aid going from 17 to 20.
Well, they want
Ooh.
for 7.5
Yeah.
hours, for $17 when they.
Yeah. that-
But I
Okay,
think
I get
it's-
that.
it's-
I'm just trying to square the
Yeah.
justification.
point is, why can't you say the same thing about the secretaries and the custodians? Why would they be or a secretary for less
The way the instructional aid level was really
higher?
than
Yeah.
the office clerk slash secretary and then based off their job.
Yeah.
If we wanted to alter that, could, but we may consider changing some of their responsibilities to be on a similar level of other.
I'm just trying, I'm just
Yeah, you're,
playing devil's advocate here. So if somebody looks at this, well, this,
yeah,
and then, I mean, I get that, but somebody looking at this. well, gee,
and not
like, well,
demeaning anybody's position, coming from a former elementary school secretary.
Oh, yeah.
You are for the day-to-day workings of the entire school and keeping track of every employee, including certificated and classified.
Yeah.
Have technicians.
Yeah.
Payroll and then things, we've got, I mean, there's some errors that we have that really are secretary, answer the phone, open the.
And maybe they should be classified as an intermediate clerk typist, because outsider coming in is gonna see, oh, well, this is what they're paying their secretary. And even if the duties are very different, which they are, it's black and white someplace.
Well, you don't wanna compare. it.
We're
Just compare
suffering
with the
from
Custodian wage.
descriptions that are bigger, but
Well,
and that's not the case.
The only thing is that
Right.
with the secretary and the custodians get paid less than secretaries, is what I see. So you have them in the same wages kind of like bizarre, with my 2 cents.
But we have to not classify or look at the secretarial position as the traditional school secretary position.
Right, because that is administrative assistant on our code is one that is there, all of that for their administrator and stuff would fall under that category. See what the pay line for that one is.
So the secretary office clerk for here is different than, well, they don't have the same responsibility. Just to clarify,
They're different.
it's very important to me. There's so many ways.
But, yeah,
Responsibilities.
and we have more that way.
Yeah, I think we only have 3 people in the total in both schools on that line.
We have two.
Two?
One in Siskiyou, one
One
in
in
Humboldt.
Humboldt, yeah. So the one in Siskiyou is the one that answers the door, right? Yeah. And the one in Humboldt is someone across the, who is it?
And she just, it's.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, very different than what
and
you're
they're both,
making.
both part-time. Oh, we have one more. We have one in Laurel Creek.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Just hope, like I said, that somebody looking at our job descriptions or vacancies ever
Yeah.
will not be discouraged,
It's okay.
by the pay.
Yeah.
Because just looking at that, people, as I did, thought that we're going from apples to apples.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, we're getting off topic. Let's.
Yeah,
And
we could pick this apart all
Yes.
day long, different opinions about what,
I think that anytime we can compensate our employees, and like Brian said, if the budget does allow, and Kelly said, I have no cash,
Then
For
we should do that.
So.
But at the same time, taking off what Linda said, is this an opportunity to clean this up for
Indefinitely.
not necessarily once and for all? 'Cause it's always-
For 1 year.
Go back to so much,
But-
so many.
but-
What Sherry said about is this.
Right.
That's a good, you want,
And their money.
I
Kelly.
agree on that, then are you shaking your head no? If you're the budget lady, but, so if we agree on it now, then we know for future budgeting, for future everything, what we're looking.
that's a good.
Yeah.
I mean,
So how, what,
So the question, are you
Sure.
making them all 75 cents apart or all $1? That's the
Yeah.
question. That's the only
starting the last two at $20 an hour, like we did the instructional aid, people are leaving them because their duties are less at that. Those are the two questions I'm
Oh,
hearing.
that is what
I
good.
feel like if we bump them
Okay.
$20 an hour, we need to look at the other lines on there too. Like technicians are processing payroll, they're
Yeah.
processing all our accounts.
Yeah.
There's a lot more.
There's a
Yeah.
lot more.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well,
Yeah, I-
hearing that now,
Yeah.
yeah, so it
Yeah.
all revolves around the job description.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
assigned duties.
Yes.
So,
Mhm.
so, but then, okay, so, I'm satisfied with the explanation. And then the next question would be, do we have them all be dollar? Or stick with the $1.75? Do we make it uniform or stick with?
The
I know, it's like.
made at
That's
the
the-
time of
You're working
a,
hard.
of a motion.
Mhm.
So whoever wants to make a motion is your driver's seat.
Well, what are we
for
looking at here ultimately? What do
Let's,
you want to do?
let's,
They wanna
if,
do.
Melissa,
every-
Brianna,
Coming out of one.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe we should split it in half and say 87.5 cent raise for everyone.
I can't do what she said.
We need an extra page to spread the whole thing
Yeah.
out.
No, it is complicated. I think it would be really good if it was cleaned up so that people understood, because even though, yes, a custodian, they're already starting low. You know, they should have the opportunity for the same type of growth as everybody else. And I don't know, in the meantime, have the numbers been ran, what that would look like, the difference? I mean, that seems like too short of notice to ask for that kind of thing, but
For the new projections and the adoption, but I do have money in for the salary updates, because me and Sherry have talked about.
And is this effective?
whatever. Sherry, would you repeat what was just said for us, please? Because there's not much volume from.
Kelly said, she knew, like, we had already just, that, you know, we were going to increase the pay schedule with these lines. Budget adoption, has already started planning on having increase, and that the budget supports it.
Remember last time when she did the.
Okay,
cross
thank
and
you.
everything, that's great. May I have a kind of a request, and I don't know if this is anything else that would bother anyone else, it just might be me, but if we are gonna rework it and change things, if I were looking at it from the outside, and even if I were an incoming employer or something, unless the rows 1 through 5 have a meaning like they did with the teachers being years, once we figure out exactly where the numbers are gonna land on that per hour, that we put the lower amount at the bottom and increasing going up, so that the administrative assistant would be on the top, followed by technician, followed by instructional aide, and then followed by office clerk, secretary, and custodian maintenance. So that and that also would cut down with the issue that was mentioned earlier about the administrative assistant and office clerk secretary being such a different spread in hourly, because they are very different jobs. But I think that if it was arranged so that it was in a cascading, like a cascade, that it would be easier to consume the data, as well as it would stop some cognitive dissonance that happens when you're looking at it and going, well, wait a minute, you know, administrative assistant, office clerk, secretary, same thing, why are they different? If you were to spread those, then it would be, I think, even without questioning brains, kind of take that and make it fit together a little bit better, so there wouldn't be that issue.
Clerical.
No,
and
I think she was talking about doing it in order of.
Yeah, so it's a cascade.
Instead of
Yeah,
instructional
like the
being at
least
top,
paying at the top and the most paying.
at the most pain.
And then also, Brianna, cleaning up that bottom part too, so that the line that like, that stuff doesn't go I guess that's on the certificated one, huh? Master's degree doesn't go with the substitute and stuff like that. Yeah, we can do that too. Make it pretty.
Oh, sorry, I didn't interrupt. I was just gonna mention something funny. Even though we talked about the master's degree one up on the page before, I got down to, speaking of the way the brain like just does things, I got down to the bottom of this page and my brain did the same thing. I was like, wait a minute, we only have one person that has a bachelor's degree and is a tutor. Like, I'm like, wait a minute, you only have to have a high school degree to be a small group instructor. And the same thing, even though you explained it and I knew consciously that was separated, my brain still wanted to put them together. So on that second page would be great too.
Yeah.
It looks like the difference in the pay on column 5 for technician and in administrative assistant will go down. If we were to do 75-cent change, those two would go down by $1. And then if we were to change 1, 4, and 5, those would end up going up by $1. So we would have, so I guess just looking at it that way might help too. So the column 5 will go down by $1 for 2 and 3, or up by $1 for 1, 4, and 5, according to if we choose 75 cents or the dollar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if we choose the 75-cent one.
Difference between here to here will be, they'll be making 24 an hour here.
Okay, okay. I gotcha.
Or
Okay,
the difference
yeah,
from here to
gotcha.
here, they'll be making 22.
It's
I'm all for up when it's talking.
Yeah,
I thought,
So-
did you think that the lowest paid should be on the top and go down to the top highest paid, just like the teacher's one is,
Mhm.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so that it keeps it standardized all the way through the document.
Yep, yep.
uh,
So we still
Okay,
haven't
right.
made the $7 decision.
We have not, and whoever makes the motion.
okay, so wait a minute, so for the classifieds, we're going to order it, keep consistency, like the certificated, lower to high, okay?
Yes.
And then a dollar increase, all the,
Across all the,
Classified hourly.
yes.
If we do the cascading effect that's similar to the teachers, can we remove the row numbers since they don't actually mean anything like they do for the teachers? Like they hold meaning, those numbering for the
it's a
teachers
different-
means something,
That makes
but
sense.
down here, they're not, so, that might be,
They
it's
are,
something that.
they are, there is a purpose. We use those to place people like on the work agreement, say what row and step they are, so that we know what their salary would be, you know, like row 4, column 3.
Yeah, it's the same as up
There was
here.
no, if we didn't have a row one,
So will doing the cascade effect on the money, will that change issues with the row numbers needing to, does that cause
Yeah.
like a jumble problem?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
your guys, for our system, for the
Yeah.
people who are working
This
with
line,
these,
so we're doing
Yeah,
some
that's gonna,
addition.
so we really can't,
they may
it's
or
gonna
may
cause
not.
a domino
It might
effect.
not.
One more question. 1 or 2
Numerical
starting
alphabet soup.
as top, and then office clerk, secretary is 2, but starting at the same pay scale, and that's not changing, except that they're getting a dollar raise, starting 1825 forward.
In that case, if you're asking me, I would say go alphabetical order.
so
Put
custodian
the
first.
custodian first.
That's so, that would make it a lot harder to look at that. Yeah.
Custodian first, I got it.
You're asking me.
Then office
When
clerk,
there's a tie,
then
go
aide,
alphabetical.
then aide, and then administrative assistant.
And if we don't like how it looks, then we'll change it later.
Even if we like, we're gonna change it later.
There you go. All right, moving forward.
Okay.
Is there a motion to
I
approve
think-
5.2 of the 2024-25 NUCS and classified pay schedules.
I move we approve the 2024-25 NUCS certificated and classified pay schedule with the following changes. The master's degree designation either be moved to longevity or the line separating the two sections be and the classified section of the schedule be arranged in the ascending order like the certificated side is. And that and that the increments or that the increments be in the amount of $1 across the columns.
Don't forget the raise in office clerk and custodian.
The office clerk and custodian would start at 18.5 rather than 18.
But I'm wondering if you could just say with changes as.
After he said all that.
We just need to make sure it's correct and that the secretary, custodian, maintenance start at 18.25 an hour.
I second.
Copy, so I got that.
I took a copy.
Can the motion make changes as stated?
After he did that?
Well,
We don't want,
She wants to put it in the minutes.
Yeah.
we gotta simplify it here. They just want to simplify.
no, I'm for her purposes,
Yeah.
but for our purposes,
Uh-huh.
That's all need to be on the same page.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And I've written all of those down.
right.
Woo.
And do you want to see the new revised copy brought as an information item next?
Yes, he does. Yes, he said, he added that too.
So
Motion, we still need a second.
Yeah. Okay, is there a second to what he said?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. All those, Jerry,
I
Brian,
Bye.
Melissa,
Aye.
Brianna,
Aye.
and I also agree, motion carried.
Wow, that was the longest motion ever.
well, we won't have to revisit all the ins and outs of it, but
Yeah.
thanks to Melissa and Brianna in pointing out the consistency aspect.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And then the alphabetical order and stuff.
Okay, move on to 5.3, approval of Bryceland Learning Center overnight trip to Universal Studios.
Yes. So this sixth grade, Bryceland Learning Center just goes to sixth grade. So this is their like graduation trip, and they have 4 6.
Oh.
So they were able to fundraise to fly down on, what's Avella?
Avella?
Yep. Go into Burbank. Yep. And so they were able to fundraise for everything. The only thing that cost onto the school is the gas in the school van to take them to the airport.
To the airport,
Yes.
yeah.
Which I said, I asked about that because that seemed odd to me, but I said, well, what about this park there, is it gonna be like long-term parking? Like while it sits there, and she said, oh no, someone was gonna be bringing it back
Oh.
and then picking it.
Okay, okay. So.
No, I take that back. It's because from here, they're leaving from San Francisco.
That's what I
And
thought.
yes, and that's when they're driving to
That's
San
okay.
Francisco. That was what I asked. So it's gonna be in long-term parking, and she said, yes, but when it stays, if they charge us, their nonprofit that has been will reimburse the school for the parking. So really the only charge is the gas. Cost is the gas, yeah.
That's cool.
Okay. Are there any questions?
Well, my comment is, thank you, Sherry, for the explanation, because I was to figure out by looking at packet, what's the justification to go to
Universal?
Yeah,
And so
yeah, that's
Because
sixth grade
it's-
is their grade,
it's
yeah,
missing, and, okay, well, that's their
it
graduation
is.
gift.
Yeah, they're on here. It's May 20th, departure date, and they're coming back May 23rd. It's quick. There and back.
There and back. Any other comments or questions for Sherry?
No.
Is there a motion?
I move to approve the Bryceland Learning Center's field trip to Universal Studios.
I wanna go. Sorry.
Second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and second. Those in favor, Jerry?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Brianna?
I.
And I also agree, carries. Moving on to 5.4, approval of elective college tour field trip.
Okay, so you guys used to sing this every year, the Avid elective class in Siskiyou and Humboldt together to do a college tour, and they had chosen different areas to do that. This time it's this area, and you see the approximate price there, but we think that that's significantly because yesterday, was that yesterday? We were notified that no one is gonna go now. Yeah. Yeah. And, that none of the students, actually, I shouldn't say that, one student do, and none of the rest do. None of them have brought back a permission slip or anything.
So will that participate?
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know.
I hope so.
So too.
Because it's very bad.
Absolutely. And it just mine that like kids wouldn't want to go,
Doesn't have to be Avid.
The price may come down and it may end up being just Humboldt students.
And out of all of our Avid students are going to participate?
I don't know if all of them are or not. I might probably pretty close because this was a total of 23 and Siskiyou, when they booked this, they were planning Siskiyou to be about 7. So a pretty significant number
Yeah.
left. So I would guess.
Oh, good.
The list is in here of who, is it in here? Or was this the one that didn't have the list yet of the participants?
I didn't see.
I think it didn't have the list yet.
Can
Are there
I just
any
have a quick question?
questions?
Yeah, I do. Just curiosity, why is it limited to the Avid students? Is it a program that Avid offers, or is it, how is that division? Because you said that there's really nobody from Siskiyou wanted to go, but was it offered to other students that aren't in the Avid program, or?
It's a class. Class is called Avid Elective, and so it's the students who are enrolled in that class.
Yeah, but I was just wondering, it's just within the class. It's not that it's an Avid program that okay, you answered my question. Sorry, I got myself all tied up in there. Yes.
Are there any other questions or comments for Sherry? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion?
I move the Avid elective college tour or field trip.
And the second?
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Jerry?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Brianna?
Aye.
Also agree, motion carries. Moving on to 5.5, a Cotton Learning Center overnight field trip to Grizzly Creek State.
Yeah, and so this is one of the classes at Learning Center is going on doing this field trip to Grizzly Creek. And all of the information is in there about the trip. You know, they've included all of the things that they need to, the itinerary and the local going and the chaperones and all of that. And they do a trip at the end of the year, camping trip every year.
Where do we fundraising?
I don't know if they did or not. I mean, there is a nonprofit associated with Cotton Learning Center that does a lot of fundraising. I don't know if any of that is being donated for the trip or not.
Are there any questions, comments, concerns? All right, hearing none, is there a motion?
I move to approve the Cotton Learning Center overnight field trip to Grizzly Creek Park.
And
I second that
it's
motion.
been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
Melissa? Brianna?
Aye.
Rebecca said, yes, they're paying for the food, by the way. The
Pay the
fundraiser
student-
paying for the food.
Or okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rebecca. And I also agree, motion carries. Moving 6.1, NUCS Board Self-Evaluation Tool.
Okay, so you guys know this at the board retreat, we kind of came up with, I think somebody, maybe it's Melissa, epiphany of like, wait, we already have a list in our handbook of what the board is supposed to be. Why not use that as the starting place for the evaluation? And then it was also that it's set up with the same rating scale that I do my self-evaluation with, that exceeded, did not meet expectations. So this was my stab at creating.
It's when you see it's printed out, formatting. And then the bold line.
Oh, yeah. It's like the bold line cut apart.
Thank you for your epiphany on streamlining this form.
I think we all kind of, it kind of came together. I can't take credit for that.
Oh, I'm giving you credit. You were there, put up in the form and everything else. Oh, yeah.
But this feels much more close to home now though, and manageable, and it feels like a good starting place, especially so that we can figure out, you know, what we want to do with it from here. I think. Good job, Sherry, on putting it together. It's easy to read and.
Yeah, it's a format that we're used to.
That we're used to, exactly. Are there any comments, questions?
So then the question becomes, what are we going to do about it?
Yeah.
Are we ready to move forward with self-evaluation? Or do we need to critique the form a little bit more, or the process?
About perfect is the enemy of, what is that? Thing, perfect is the enemy of good or something.
Perfect is the enemy of good. I think that we should try it.
Try it?
Yeah.
I think we should try it. I also want to let you guys know if we're having communication issues. It's really hard to hear a lot of the stuff on that end. And then every once in a while we have a fridge kick on that makes it even harder. So I'm sorry if we're talking over or we're doing our best over here. But we did hear that perfect is the enemy of good or something like that. And I think we'd like to try it out. It would be a good starting point.
It's a living document. It can evolve next year and going.
Now, is this something that we all want to do on our own and bring back to our next meeting?
I
Is
second
it
that.
something- Okay,
Okay, maybe we can get an email with instructions from Rosemary, kind of like we get with the evaluation of Sherry. Isn't that kind of how
Okay.
that works? Where you say, hey, you have this much time, then we're gonna come and compile the information, something like that?
then in Jerry's question, yes, there will be homework. We will leave tonight's meeting with the homework. Actually, I think more than one.
Yeah, I like the idea of having the time to go and meditate on it in my own world, and then coming together and comparing notes and creating one consensus.
Have
on
we
the document.
thought about the time frame according to, I know we've done this in the past with deciding when to tack things on to different meetings. This one feels fairly long. I know there's just a lot of discussion, but is there a time of year that we find that there's a good time to do this?
Well, for this one, I think that we should review next meeting, bring back everything and there I can compile a finished product like we do with Sherry's evaluation. Or do you guys just want to submit it and then I compile? If it's still a working document and we're trying it out, I think each bring it back, critique it, and wait for that finished product.
So then at the next board meeting, we will have the compilation of our evaluations of Sherry as well as our evaluations of ourselves. Is that correct? And you will compile both those datas by the next meeting? Am I correct with that?
Partially. To clarify, I will not be next meeting. Brianna is going to be leading the charge. Sherry's evaluation will come to me, and then we do have a closed session, and then I meet with Sherry to discuss it with her. But our closed session is us discussing, me sharing out everybody's comments and rating, so to speak. Again, very confidential. It's not going to say, well, Jerry said on his. It's just a group evaluation.
And that is, does that mean that we were supposed to have Sherry's evaluation returned to you already by this board meeting for closed meeting?
No. That's gonna be my next week's homework. Is finding that, because she did send her evaluation and how she did herself to each of us.
Yes.
And I will send out the form, ask that it be returned.
Yes.
Now, given that I'm not gonna be here next time, I'm wondering, should we have a special meeting over that of a closed session, or how should we?
I'm gonna tell you what I would prefer and then why. I
Okay,
would prefer in the closed session, in the closed session, you guys could go over my self-evaluation. or whatever, and then they give you the feedback.
Right.
Compile the thing, and I don't know why you guys would need to meet again
Again?
after you compile, just me.
Okay.
Because what will be in closed session next time will be my salary negotiation
Right.
stuff. So, you know, I mean, we're just running out of time. I don't think you just need to meet another time for tonight for the evaluation piece, because they have put you in charge of meeting with me. They're gonna give you the feedback. and then
Okay.
just give-
Yeah.
And we can do that, yes, by next meeting and then.
Yeah, well, so you and I have a time to meet. You
Okay.
just let me know whenever you're ready.
And then, so
But-
would it be okay if we waited until you return, like we have until the meeting that you return, Rosemary, to turn in our self-evaluation?
If that were the case, our next meeting after that is June, when we have our 2 meetings and done at that point.
Okay.
To answer your question, perhaps we should make this our first to do speak of the new school year. There is
Okay.
time. The August board meeting, but in my absence, every still move forward because Brianna will be charged. Jerry has a comment, question.
Jerry,
Jerry.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear. Go ahead, Jerry, I didn't mean to interrupt, I couldn't hear.
Pertaining to the board self-evaluation. My suggestion is that we sort of reform this, that we have the instrument in front of us and we spend some time, give it some thought, rate ourselves, the board, make your comments, and then at a meeting, during well, it would be discussion, and we just go around the table and say how we evaluated ourselves.
But when will we do that? June meeting, so she's not gonna be here in May.
Well,
Or
if
should it
you're
be our
talking
first
about,
one up?
if we want to do, we could, we could do it in August and set August to do this. The thing I would say is, are we going to be able, go back and remember things, by month? It's really just a collective, examination of how we functioned for, the previous
Yeah.
school year.
Kind of
might-
like the SARCs, you get them after the fact.
So we, as the pattern that
Uh-huh.
we do,
The best one is.
Our tone for the next school year.
or do we want to wait? Although, then there's too much overlap in a new school year. I mean, the idea would be for us to do this at a joint meeting. But short of that, and just the dynamics of how we're set up, we could do it in August. You can go back and that would be one argument. Reflecting on what we did the previous year and looking ahead, we would have identified some things that we might want for the coming year.
Yeah.
August, because we're just starting new.
Are you receptive to the idea of reforming it as opposed to writing it out, turning it and that?
I like that, and then we have it in front of us as an open discussion at our first meeting in August.
Yeah, and then that will give Brian an opportunity to have been seeing how we're working for 2 to 3 meetings, and he can kind of ruminate over that over the summer. We all can, and we can kind of come into it that way. I think that would be a good way. Can I ask Sherry, will you please send out someone an updated board handbook? Because mine is super old since we've made all these amendments. And so I'm just kind of looking at this and I love this, but I'm like, I don't even have the document that says the
Well,
exact.
It's a Google Doc. Yeah, it's a
Google Doc now.
Huh?
It's a Google Doc now. Thank you for that reminder, because I have a PDF and I forgot that I can find.
Do you need me to reshare it with you? So it's like at the top of your email.
That might just help. I can find it, so no worries, but I forgot about that.
I forgot it too.
Okay, well, I just shared it with you, so you get a notification.
Thanks, Sherry.
You're not
No problem.
obligated to do this.
In this,
With Sherry's evaluation.
Sure, sure.
We should probably just have a really brief overview for Brian so he can understand what this is based off of. This is based off of
The board handbook, yeah. So the board has been working for a long time on, well, first, a long time ago, they handbook, and then just very recently, they went through it and updated it all, and you'll get through that with you at the next meeting, because that's part of the onboarding.
Okay.
But this evaluation is something in that handbook that they developed.
Good. That was a good discussion. Are there any more comments, questions?
No.
So it's,
We have the
if
copy
you
of.
have it, we will bring it back to our August meeting and just as we do so often, just a roundtable discussion. Okay. And moving on to reports. They were all in our packet. We have 7.1, which is our enrollment and attendance report. We have 0.2, the financial report for both Humboldt and Siskiyou. We have a director's report. Oh, no, stop. I'm stopping. That, we have.
Yeah.
I'm going
That's
too
you,
far.
girl.
So anyway, we have the enrollment report and the financial report. Are there any questions or comments about either? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to the director's report 7.3.
And I'm just gonna say, in general, I don't have a report like I normally do, because we had 4 board meetings in March. We're pretty well caught up. And keep in mind, last week was spring break as well. So there's not really anything wrong, but a while back, we had some discussions about the food program. So we brought to you you saw it in the packet, just kind of a little spreadsheet that probably was not easiest to read, but just because I intended to put some lines between the sentences. But it kind of just showed how many meals we were each month at each center, both breakfast and lunches, and then also we were paying for that, all the way out to the right, the price per meal that we pay, but for, you could see how much we month for each of those locations. And then down toward the bottom, you saw cost of meals so far this year. And then kind of how that was kind of broken down. And then we also put in there the we've received so far from our reimbursement from being part of the food program. As of right now, the food program is running in the red $5,000, meaning that we are spending more than we're getting back. Which no big shock to anybody who knows about food programs. So that was one thing we wanted to give you, and then I know that the thought has been that the Eureka lunches that we vend with may not be the best, and so kind of coincidentally, they reached out to ask already if we were going to renew, and our food service person forwarded that email to me. And I said, well, actually, I don't know. We're going to be having a board meeting to talk about this. And she said, oh, please tell me we're not going to leave from Eureka City School. And I said, well, why? And she said, well, there's a whole reason. And so she wrote this and gave us all the positive points. But she feels like of all of the vendors she works with, they are the best in terms of, I mean, you could read her own words, but for her to work with in terms of, she feels 100% satisfied that they are in compliance with everything. She's for their facility. They had her come look at their facilities, and she just feels really positively about the way that they handle everything. In addition to the other people that we vend with, the other companies or schools that we vend with. So anyway, you guys have had a chance to look at all these documents. I'm just wondering if you have questions or comments, thoughts.
What are the when besides Eureka City Schools?
Okay, so for Eureka City Schools, we've been with them for like all of our Eureka facilities. And then in Bryceland, we've been with Beginnings Incorporated. They do meals there. And those are really like homemade lunches, because the facility that they're made in is actually a 10 too. So it's like there's a kitchen there and they're all made by scratch kind of thing. So that's there in Bryceland. In Arcata, we've been with school districts, so like Arcata High, McKinleyville High, that school district is who we've been for our Arcata. And then our Willow Creek is shelf stable. So it is like kind of already packaged food, like from Costco or whatever, that we put the meals together. And yeah, in Siskiyou, we do Monkey, which is a company that they're out as, what they do is they prepare meals for the fire crews during like fire, when they set, when the fire crew sets up a big place. Fire Monkey is who does their meals. And for our meals in Siskiyou County.
What would be the alternative? Not saying we go this route.
Yeah.
The alternative, you said, well, we want to go with a different vendor. What would be out there?
Different vendors over the years, like we did Cotton School District for our Eureka ones before. We did, there's a.
What can I, sorry.
Sure, no, that's fine.
What did you guys just not like them, or did something issue? I just want to get it.
They didn't want to continue doing it.
Oh.
If was that pre-COVID, and then we COVID, they didn't want to do it. I can't remember for sure, but I know they didn't want to do it before. Does that sound right? And then we've also vended with, do you know Jefferson Community Center?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they're good.
So them before, that was when we first started, and hands down, they were the best. I thought the kids didn't, but it was too expensive. It was too expensive.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's, and I don't know what else there would be.
I'd like to give some background to my fellow board members. I sort of took during this pot. When I had visited Cutting Center as well as the Eureka Learning Center, I was really shocked.
Less than impressed.
My ugly twin sister came out at one point with Rebecca as well as about what our kids were eating.
Yeah.
At one point, Sherry said, "What is that?"
Oh, wow.
We actually had to look at you to see what it was that they were serving. And at the Eureka Learning Center, I was there, parents there that were also expressing a real concern about the taste, the quality, across the board. But there are times, I will say this from my own grandson, one at each site, there are times that they will say, good. And so it's not 100% of the time, but up to employees at both sites that are in hands-on with the meals, how the meals are received and that type of thing. And so this is kind of a mountain that I hope I don't die on, but I did want to express my concern and get feedback, not from my own grandsons, but when I make whatnot from the students. And especially the high school, they're very.
And Brian, you could ask your wife about it. They then too,
Yeah,
for Pacific,
yeah.
Pacific View, saying they do Route 6 schools also.
And that's why, it's on today's agenda.
Yeah.
Again, it's good to have the good quality food.
But also, it's really good, even if we had no concerns about like the quality of the meals or anything, but just to see kind of how this program is operating.
Right.
You know, are having to contribute from the general fund, you know, that amount.
And it, you know, a small amount, it's.
Now, you guys, since the things change, you get money back, don't you?
Right, and that's,
Yeah.
it does include, and I'm sorry, you're not even looking at this here, pass it. It includes the reimbursement that
Okay,
we
yeah,
get.
that's what I want to
With the
clarify, make
reimbursement
sure.
we get,
guys
we're
got-
still in the whole 45,000.
Yeah.
Oh,
So in other words, the meals is way more than the reimbursement is.
Right.
And it's pretty true, the reimbursement and the meals are pretty close, it's the, to have a staff member. You know, a food service.
Is there a
coordinator.
way to fix that?
I don't know.
Or,
Yeah.
I mean,
don't blame you.
it's just, I don't, you know, if I do it online, you don't want to be in the red either. That's just something to think about. I mean, I know Eureka, but then they kind of brought their thing back up.
They're unfortunately eligible for a lot.
They-
Then Eureka's getting a little bigger, a lot more grants for the program that we get. And
Yeah.
so they're getting like a lot of fresh fruit, vegetable grants,
and you got-
farm potato
Because
grants.
we don't have kitchens, we have to vend. So we're
Right.
qualified to get those. If you were providing the food, we can't provide the food. We have to partner with organizations.
We don't have any kitchens, that would be agreeable for us to have a.
Speaking of that, because I've heard that from Sherry also, forward with, looking at real estate and whatnot.
Yeah.
That might be
That's a
something
serious,
to really look at, doing our own.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll ask you these questions, like, if we got a,
There's probably only one
all right, that's all questions I have.
Any other questions or comments?
Just
Okay,
for Sherry or for the meals program? Either?
either
I was-
one, this is Sherry's spotlight.
Nice. I was wondering, Sherry, when you come to Siskiyou, do you always give us like a, do you always report like meetings and things you have over here and why you come, or do you just come all the time on regular for regular reasonings and stuff like that?
I come the first Monday and Tuesday of every. So those are the dates that I come. Was that your question?
Yeah, and what kind of things do you do when you come to over here? Do you have like meetings with teachers and all of that? Or like with,
Yeah, it depends on what's happening at the center, the days I'm there, like last month, there was a staff meeting on the day I was there, so I got to participate in the staff meeting. But I always am I come at those dates, there's a mandatory that the county office holds. It's mandatory for all those superintendents in the county to attend. And so I always attend that. That one's in the morning on Tuesday. And that's in Wairika. And so that day I start out there in Wairika and then on my way back home, stop in Mount Shasta.
that was that, you said it was yesterday?
No, that's next week, next Tuesday, first Tuesday of the month. So May, is that next Tuesday? No, that's not next Tuesday.
No,
A couple
Two
more.
weeks.
That's
couple
2
more.
weeks. Next week is a different trip.
So first.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool, because I was just thinking it would be really cool to just hear back about things, happenings, between you and us up here and how it's going. And I figure, oh, I think she always tells us, but I just thought I would ask about that.
I didn't
Yeah, you
realize
mean in my director's report?
Great to see you.
Yeah.
You mean in the director's report? Yeah. Because there's already school reports for both schools, I stick to the things that are more, I guess, I don't know how to say it, more like admin kind of thing. So like, I'm not reporting on like fundraisers and stuff, because those are happening in the school reports that happen in the board packet. I try to keep my reports more toward things that are like, the school new laws or things that are more like admin level versus school level.
So things like meeting with teachers to discuss like various things like that, you would or wouldn't report to us?
Well, like I can remember a recent report, I reported out about how there's going to be changes at Mount Shasta Learning Center, like the way that it's structured. And then I talked about some changes over here at our Arcata Learning Center. So I just talked about changes for next year in general. And, specifically to those locations. But I don't know that I normally talk about teachers. Maybe we'll talk about when we're going to have the fall, like any school staff meetings or things like that.
Okay.
Like for example,
Figure, like,
we
if
have
you-
the Siskiyou staff meetings, like I presented those, but I don't, you set out at this meeting about those because those are written about in the school report.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions for Sherry? Okay, moving on to 7.4, which is the North United Humboldt report that is in it from Rebecca. 7.5 is the Q report from Kirk. And normally I would reach out to both of them if they have something that they would like to add. But this time I'm not. Kirk isn't over there, and Rebecca has a building. So we move on to 7.6, which is the board report. And typically what I do, Brian, is I will ask each of the board members if they have to share. Jerry?
I just wanted to, having, stepped through the, training for, Brown Neck training and, familiar faces, making the presentation and,
Jerry Simmons, is that who Jerry Simmons?
yeah, it's really weird because, the.
I know, she was a new one to me.
But, kept saying Jerry. Jerry.
Uh-huh.
So that was kind of peculiar, but, I mean, for me, it was just continued validation of some of the things that were, pointed out. And, the one, and one thing that, I was a bit confused by has come up before, and it's in reference to the quorum. In reference to quorum, the majority county, you know, for us to have a meeting. So does that mean there has to be two? Oh, does that, there always has to be two Humboldt members present in order to have a quorum? Could we be in a situation where only Rosemary and Melissa and Brianna be present? That's 3 of the 5, but it's not a majority, and the majority.
The only time I heard that reference, but I could be wrong, is when talking about that new-ish, as of last year, I think, it allows you, in a case of an emergency, to telecom in. You have to be able to, for that to happen, you had to have a majority in. But I don't remember him saying other times that you had to have a majority.
It was just specifically that.
It was definitely a majority. We have to have a majority of members in our home county. But I didn't hear for a meeting to happen. You had to.
Yeah.
It was just the emergency call-in, so like she or I could never emergency call-in, but somebody in Humboldt can emergency call-in.
Well, we would
But-
never be able to have majority in Siskiyou side if
Yeah.
that were the case. If one of us was gone, then there would
Yeah.
never be majority here.
But it didn't apply to, it didn't apply to regular teleconferencing, it was just the emergency bit. And it doesn't affect you in Humboldt, but it does affect us over here. So just no emergencies, okay? No family emergencies. No.
Yeah, I'd have to, again, I mean, it's, this isn't the first time they brought it up.
Mhm.
I mean, that caught my attention as well. But it's part of a larger discussion about emergency meetings and postings, and they cited the example of a board member in Hawaii. And
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
or something,
Yeah.
yeah.
so, but when they talk about the majority, his reference to the majority county is county that has the largest student population,
Mhm.
which is Humboldt.
Mhm.
So,
But how many charter schools have more than one county that they represent?
I mean, it's not unheard of. There's plenty
Yeah.
that do.
Yeah.
Like there's a huge one in Southern California that has about, I don't even know how many, I think they have like 90,000 students. And they're
That's why they-
in multiple counties. In fact, they're opening one in now. But they're in multiple counties in Southern California, but for management organizations besides us.
and the other that, I picked up on, and I wrote it down. My note is basically a question. Where we hold our board meetings, are they ADA,
Yeah.
like wherever we would hold them, they
Mhm.
ADA compliant.
Which is why having it in your own personal house
Yeah.
could usually not work, you know, if you have any steps going into your house, is the example he
Or
did.
the law.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but everything else, it's continued validation of things we already know. A few things we've incorporated into our handbook
Mhm.
and onboarding. So, it was, well, and then there's tomorrow night.
Yes.
You're me.
I'm you.
Brian, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, just listening.
One thing, I'm sorry, Brian, one thing I wanted to say, is I thoroughly enjoyed our joint board meetings in Siskiyou,
Oh, yeah.
last month. That was, a foundation of why we do it. And also to the foundation, the fact that we are a really cohesive, collaborative group of.
Exactly.
I agree. And I was wondering, when we first established the board, we had the plan of a meeting in Humboldt, and then 6 months later, a meeting in Siskiyou, and then in the summertime doing a retreat. And I was wondering why that fell out of practice, or if it's something we could bring back, because it was the one thing that I found with how quick it has to happen, and we cram in the meetings and we get everything done, but we don't get really a chance to be together as a group and let brainstorming happen. And you know, teachers go off and do their professional training and, you know, team building activities and things like that. I think that something like that would be really cathartic for all of us, and I think we come out with you know, maybe we can meet at a spa or something. But yeah, so that we have that kind of team building time where we are away from the rigid structure, where we can, you know, come up with vision boards, or I'm joking, but no, it would just be really nice to have a little bit more unstructured time where it's not so
More discussion.
yeah, more discussion and more kind of exploration about where, you know, we originally, I think we planned it sometime in the middle of the summer, so it was like closing up the year before and looking ahead to the future of the next year, and kind of getting that cohesiveness and momentum going. But I didn't know if that'd be something that we could maybe consider in the future.
Remember,
It'd be
we
nice,
talked
'cause
about
it was
that.
great seeing you.
We would have to
Yeah.
say, you know, enough
Mhm.
information to where, like, you know, somebody reading the agenda would understand what we were doing.
And then also have to be.
Yeah, and we would have to
Yeah, I mean,
report
all
it,
of that.
posted.
It's
yeah.
just all the parameters of the program.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Melissa, do you have anything to share out?
Thank you. Yes. So as some of you know, but maybe not Brian, I am a parent of 2 Northern United Charter School students. And so from time to time, I meet or communicate with their teachers, ISTs. And I had the lovely opportunity to meet with my children's IST, Dawn, and in my home base of Etna, California, and it was wonderful. During that time, we talked about how there are limited opportunities for rural students who do not come onto site, and she mentioned there being areas in our budget for things like music lessons and one-on-one opportunities for kids that need it. And so she said, if you know of anybody, reach out to our, I don't know if you would call it site coordinator, and let them know that someone is interested. And if they're willing to get fingerprinted and go through all the hoops, we could potentially have them as a vendor to offer these opportunities to families like yours. And I thought, well, that's a great idea. So I knew of a couple different people. I kind of spoke saying, hey, we potentially have room for vendors at Northern United. And some of these, particularly one of the music teachers, has other students that are already part of our school. They're already independent study students of Northern United. So I got contact information and I passed it on. I don't know if you would consider that board happenings or parent happenings, but I thought that was a pretty cool opportunity. So after a couple weeks, I heard back from that teacher, and she said that that it's not, that she heard back from our director that it's not in our budget to have vendors outside of the classroom, and that we were moving towards having classroom vendors. So I just kind of wanted to report back on that, because I think I need a little bit of guidance on how to bring up concerns like this to become a discussion item, because I felt like, oh, is that the direction that we're going? I didn't know that that was the direction that we were going. So how would I bring up an issue like that to be discussed or to be questioned about, like, is there room in the budget? Or, for instance, what are we doing to provide opportunity for rural students that live too far from site or are not allowed on site? And I know that that's not a question we could even bring up right now, and not necessarily maybe something I could even ask to be a discussion item. What is the process of me bringing these things to the board? Where can I find that process?
I have a similar question, because I too am a parent. My son is here in Wairika, but how do we make that change of, if we are board members but we have concerns as a parent, is there a way for, like, during the public session, can we recuse ourselves excuse me, from being board members for a moment and put on our parent hat and be present as a public parent and then come back as a board member? Or how do we fill the shoes of both roles that we're playing? Or do we need to, as board members, not be parents? Which that didn't sound right, but is there a way to balance it? Or if we have a concern as a parent that we want to bring to the board during the public session, do we need to not attend that meeting as a board member? Or I don't even know that we addressed any of that in the board handbook. But
Well, that's a good thing.
I
think
So let me answer Melissa's question first. There's a protocol in the board handbook. It's called bringing up new topics or something like that. Let me see what it's called. I'm scrolling through real quick. It's called bringing up new ideas or agenda items. So it was a protocol that you guys developed on how to bring something, to the board to discuss, I don't know, or bring something to me or something to put it on the agenda. I'm scrolling to where it is.
Yeah, would you mind telling me the page just so I can take note of it?
Sure. It looks like it is page 13. And it's called bringing up new ideas or agenda items. And it just kind of walks you through, like, when a board member knows in advance, the first step will be to discuss the new topic or idea with the school director. Individual board members may bring up a new idea or request a future agenda item by explanation during future agenda items. Yeah, you're there. Yep, I see you on that. So that's the protocol for bringing up a new item. And I mean, I don't know if you guys want to answer, Brianna or not, but I mean, everybody has their own opinion, but I feel like when you're on a board, you do set your parent hat aside. Your role is to think about the best interest of the school and the school community.
Yeah.
Whether or not that is in alignment with what's best for your particular child isn't really what you're supposed to be thinking of at that moment. And when you're a board member, that's my opinion anyway. I don't know, everybody could have different opinions.
I agree, and I guess my kind of where I was trying to figure out that line too is that certain concerns that we have as parents aren't appropriate to be added to the agenda as a new that was not something that I was concerned about, but
yeah, nor would any parents concerned. Parents who have concerns, we would never put any parents' concern on the agenda because you should talk directly with the person you have a concern with. And if that didn't get resolved, then you would kind of work your way up the chain of command. You know, you would go to the administrator, and if there wasn't a resolution, you know, then you could come to me, you know, that kind of thing. That's what we have parents do.
all that goes along.
And so, to bring it back to what I was talking about, I guess if I were to put my point and her point together, or if I had gotten some kind of thought from what she was saying, it's tricky as a parent because it's like, it's not a conflict of interest per se. It's like just being a parent introduces me to things about the schools that makes me think as a board member. That part's a little bit more tricky for me because I'm like, well, shoot, now I have board member thoughts, not because I want to benefit, you know, and I don't want to be taken like I'm trying to benefit, right? But it makes me think, oh, okay, well, which direction is the school going? What is our budget for students that are outlying of the sites? And how do I go about bringing up these concerns? So that's why I was asking today is like.
Well, I have a thought because I know I've been to many school board meetings, even in your city schools, where they talk about their kids. You can present it not necessarily as a parent, but you can still wear your parent hat, but you can present it as looking at the school, the community, the school community as a whole, and how it can affect your child, not necessarily just your own child, but what about others? How's it affecting them? If you present it that way, I think you could probably put it on the agenda.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my belief that you can do that, because if there is an issue, and if it is affecting other people, or if it's something that just needs to be discussed, not necessarily a complaint, but you want to put on the agenda, you don't have to say, well, this is affecting my child, but you could put it as, well, this could be affecting our school community.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with what you just said, Brian, because although in an ideal situation we would be able to separate things nice and neatly, but at the same time, part of the role, and I think bringing you on board today helps us remember this, that as board members we were chosen to be representative of stakeholders within the whole community. So whether it be from that representing the outside community, representing being a representative of being a parent, or being you know, whatever situation it is, that it is kind of a role of being the board member to also still be a parent, because that's why I was chosen originally to be up for the chance of joining the board, because I was a stakeholder as a parent. And so it's not I guess sometimes I like the way that you put it, Brian, of that it can be presented in the proper board member way, but yeah,
Still be influenced as being a parent.
I'm getting lost.
So
here.
Sherry, can I ask you, is it appropriate for me having a meeting as a parent with a teacher, is it appropriate for me to come back to the board as a board report and say, these were some thoughts that were brought up in an interaction with with teachers and staff and whatnot? Is that appropriate? Seeing that it was like related to our school mission and our direction, is that appropriate, or should I be keeping these things to myself and then just
No,
be
you shouldn't keep
personally?
anything to yourself. I think what would be more appropriate is if you knew that a teacher was upset about something and they didn't want to come talk to me about it, because that's what I always say is like board members, if anybody is, you know, if an employee or a parent or anybody is talking to you as a board member with a concern or a complaint or something, I would hope you would always direct them to me, you know, or but if you're thinking more of, if you're talking more about, you know, the board's role is to set policy and to set direction. And so if you're talking more about, which it kind of sounds like, that you're wanting to talk about what is the direction that we're choosing to go in terms of vendors, then that would absolutely be a board discussion, but that has nothing to do with any individual teacher or their thoughts or any individual parents and their thoughts. It's more like, that's more direction and, you know, kind of, not policy, but like more like visioning kind of thing. And so that would be very appropriate for the board. So I think it depends on what is talking to you about and how, you know, how you deal with it.
Right, okay, so what I'm hearing is that the way that I brought it up was appropriate because it had nothing to do with anybody being upset, because no teachers were upset or anything, no parents were upset. It was just like information, right? So that information had me as a board member thinking about our vision and our direction, and so I brought that up to the board. So, okay.
Yeah,
Well, thank you
absolutely.
for that clarification.
Yeah.
Melissa, that, you know, you could, in this, of course, this is my own opinion, you know, based upon my background, but you'd come during board report and just say and use, you know, and reference the fact that, oh, I met with a teacher or one of my kids' teacher, and in the course of the discussion, it occurred to me to wonder what direction our school or district is going toward, and you know, and that it's beyond just your children.
Yeah.
And it gets to what Brian was talking about, the community, and that is absolutely appropriate.
Right. And our protocol says that, like, when we get to the possible future agenda items, that's where you could say, hey, this is something like Rosemary brought up in one of our meetings, maybe the last one, when we got to the possible agenda items for the next meeting. That's where she said about putting the food program on. So that's why I had that on the agenda this time.
Or when I, long ago now, during this section, asked if we could start, you know, looking at all the different onboarding protocols that we ended up incorporating.
Yeah.
And we went month by month on different topics.
So I'll have to look through this a little better, but from what we're all talking about, that's, I guess, why I wanted to bring it up during board report, because I think it's appropriate when we say, are there any other things we want to consider for the next agenda? I thought, oh, I'd love to have a discussion on that topic, for instance, and I didn't know if I was allowed to ask that during that time, or if I had to, prior to that, contact you directly, Sherry, or contact Rosemary. And obviously I just need to do my research in the handbook.
No, thank you, because I was
Yeah,
confused about it too.
Wouldn't hurt
I-
to reach out to.
Right, I was just gonna say that, and I think our protocol says that it's best to reach out to us first, or maybe even to me, because it's possible that like what you wanna discuss, like maybe something's happening that you weren't aware of, or, you know, maybe we're already doing something, and maybe in other words, maybe your questions or whatever would be resolved by a phone call first or something, but, you know, something like this where you're wanting to talk about like the overall direction that we, you know, as a school want to move forward on. That to me, I mean, it's not like there is any right or wrong answer that I could possibly give you in a phone call. I mean, that would make sense, like to just say it in the future agenda items part.
Thank you.
So like the separation between daily operations and direction would be the,
right.
A lot of people
the stepping
think
stones.
around vendors with the community school grant. was this
Yeah,
year.
I know.
And we reached out directly to the CDE to find out clarity, you know, we could use those funds for vendors, and they specifically said no.
No, yeah, and I don't know if you could hear Kelly, Melissa, or not, but I do kind of, I think she's right about that. You know how you said that Dawn said there were funds to do these vendors or whatever? We think that there was a lot of confusion with the community school grant about that. Originally, people thought that we could use our planning grant for vendors. And then when we reached out to CDE, they said, no, you can't use the planning grant for that. So I'm almost wondering if that's what Dawn was referring to when she said there were funds for that, but I don't know that for sure. But that's a possibility of what happened there.
Okay, great.
All right.
Thanks for all that clarity and for listening to me and helping me to work through how to do that correctly. It's been about 3 years and I still haven't quite figured it out, but I'm trying.
Do we have on today's agenda a spot for recommendations for future
Always at the end,
agendas?
right there,
I know, I just didn't see it.
10.1.
Oh, there we go. Okay, it was hiding.
Okay, thank you. So that is the end of my board report.
Brianna, did you have something to add or share?
I have a couple of things that I would like to suggest for the agenda in the future later in the meeting. But actually,
Still have to go into closed session.
my question and concern kind of piggybacked on what she said, and it got clarified. So nothing particular. I'm just excited to get working with the sustainable ag class. So when plant sale is going on, and if we can ever just manage to get over 31 degrees at night, things will be good.
It's coming, it's coming. Sticking with board reports, I have a couple of things. This past month, I made site visits at both our Cutton Learning Center and Eureka Learning Center. It's always very enlightening to make those visits. I also attended both open houses and met with some new families. They had a lot of questions. They were getting answers from different folks and whatnot, and I think that by the end of the night, I think they were sold. So that was a good thing. I'd also like to just give kudos to Debbie, our librarian, for leading her artists to victory again in the Godwin Wit event. I know Jerry reached out and thanked her, but she does an outstanding job, and she makes sure that her students get exposure in a lot of different areas. So kudos to her. And then piggybacking also on what Jerry had to say about the Brown Act training, I believe that we did get some clarification on a serial meeting that we had talked about when we were over there. And my take on it, and after talking with Sherry, was as long as we really don't talk board business, we are okay. So Thank you, Brianna, for spearheading where we would go to eat when we were over there.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
My view, no Brown Act was violated. And now moving on to 7.7, which is the NUCS federal and state tax returns for 2022. It's in our packet. I don't know if,
I'm sure you guys all read it.
Yeah.
Front to
it-
back.
it's not like we wanted to look at any more taxes this time of year, but thank you for submitting it. And does anybody have any questions or comments about our tax returns?
It's pretty nice to see it all neat and tidy in a tax package, actually. It simplifies what we're doing in some way.
Oh, good. I'm glad you felt that way about it. You might be the only one.
Yeah, I think you are. And hearing no other comments or questions, we will move on to our closed session. And before that, I have to read 8.2, which says, under this item, the public is invited to address the board regarding items that are on the closed session. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. The board is not allowed under law to take action on matters that are not on the agenda. And so I have to,
You also have to review what it is we're talking. You have to say this.
yeah, I'm not done.
Okay, sorry.
Yes. So, before moving on, are there any public comments?
Haven't said what the closed session
Yeah,
is about.
they don't know what to comment on yet.
Okay, well, I think that's out
See,
of,
no, it's right here. The board chair will verbally review items to be discussed in closed session. So you have to say what it is first, then you do that.
so I had no arrow. Okay,
I'll tell you what, 8.3.
what we are going to discuss is 8.3.1, which is employee performance, public employee performance, Sherry, her contract. Now I can go and ask,
Not my contract, my evaluation.
Evaluation,
Yeah.
but you always will know who can be
performance, yeah, I should have known performance was evaluations. Okay, all right. Shall we just start completely over with
No.
number 8? Okay. Okay, I see a hand.
So I know that you guys have very not strict, but, written out guidelines of what you evaluate the director on. So as someone who works by her side most days, I think there should be a component in it that is just the overall job that she does with her fellow staff members and how she leads this team on both sides, considering the distance and how well she does that. And I don't know if there's a place in her evaluation that you guys address that, but I think there should be. And if you want my rating, on a scale of 1 to 10, she gives a 50. So that's my 25 cents worth.
It was not 3 minutes.
We could go longer. Did we hear 7 minutes, Rosemary?
Thank you,
Let's-
Linda.
That's where we
All
can.
right, any other comments? Okay. Now we'll go to 8.3, which is now why is 8.3 there, but 8.31? Shouldn't we hear what she has to say before we move to a closed session?
You
You
did.
just did.
I know, but it's not that way here.
Yeah, it is.
No, it says 8.3.
8.2 is the open hearing, which just happened.
Yes.
Then we're gonna adjourn.
Oh, and then this is what we're talking about. Oh, God.
It's late. It is 8
This is
o'clock.
almost my bedtime.
I know.
folks.
I know.
Go.
So I'm gonna pause the recording because you're adjourning into closed session.
I am adjourning.
You need to tell her what time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, but I have to read 8.3,
You already did.
adjourn to a closed session.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay, the board will adjourn to a closed session pursuant to Government Code 54950 54962. Closed session attendees include board members, Sherry Lovett, director, and other individuals that may be invited to attend by the board.
Okay, are you adjourning into?
I
closed
am
session?
adjourning into closed session at 7:53. We are going to reconvene to open session at 8:53. And moving to, excuse me, 9.1, report of action taken during closed session. There was no action taken. So we will move on to number 10, our next board meeting, 10.1, possible agenda items.
Okay, and onboarding,
Onboarding, yes.
a lot of leases,
Okay.
food vendor agreements. Another closed session, and that would be for my contract. And I feel like there was something else. I'm looking back in my notes, maybe not. Those are the things I know of off the top of my head right now.
I have something that I would like added, if possible, which would be an invitation to our FFA members, as many as one or more than that, to share out with us their conference experience. I think you had asked at when we were approving their field trip for some feedback about that field trip, that was huge. Okay.
Anymore.
10.2, our next board meeting is May 8th. And again, I want to thank Brianna in advance for leading everyone down the board path for next
You know,
meeting.
knowing you're not gonna be here next time, should you and I meet before that about my contract?
We can, now, before that, I think it's May the 1st. I will be out of town until that Sunday. So it would have to be real early,
Like the end of this-
Monday or Tuesday.
Or the end of this month?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Well, why don't we plan on getting together at the end of this month?
Okay.
And all contact.
Okay. And then, we're moving on to 11, which is the adjournment. I'd like to thank everyone for coming. And once again, I'd like to welcome our new board member, Brian. This is not typical
No.
adjournment time for us. This does break all records.
This is the longest I've been on here.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And so I will adjourn this meeting at 8:57.
Woo, thank you guys for hanging in there.
Yeah. After our earlier discussion, I'm gonna have to go back, double check, our trip details, because, unless I know otherwise, I'm gonna miss the three meetings.
That's right, you will.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah.
Bye, you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Who's laughing now?